Welcome to the first annual ECAT Day in celebration of community media. This is a day to recognize the programs and the people behind ECAT. My name is Priscilla Almquist-Olsen, and my co-anchor is Mark Cardoza. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Priscilla.
We have guests today that pour their time, heart, and soul into presenting Easton with thoughts, services, and experiences in and around Easton. Well, Mark, and who are you?
I'm a volunteer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I'm impressed with how hard the people at ECAT work to do what they do, and I thought it's time to give back to the community. I thought it's my time to give back to the community, so my son suggested I check out ECAT, and I couldn't be happier. Kim, Adam, Joe, Jack, Lucas, Priscilla, Wyatt, and Ben all do a great job. And we have a bunch of volunteers, Gail, Dave, Harrison, Ernie, and Wayne, that complement the programs. So my heart's out to the crew and all the volunteers. We thank you guys for all you do with ECAT and in the community. Just to talk about some of the coverage that ECAT does for the town, they cover the majority of the sports events, right? Football, baseball, basketball, volleyball, soccer, field hockey. They cover a bunch of concerts, summer concerts. What are the concerts?
Well, we have all the junior high and high school concerts. We have the community concerts that the Shoveltown Cultural District puts on in the months of July and August on the at Oaks Ames Memorial Hall outside, and with the big fall festival finale in September, where the streets are closed and there are food trucks and 3 bands, 3 stages. It's quite wonderful. We had 800 people there this past September. What other concerts? The Ames Free Library has concerts, and they're held in the Queeset Gardens during the summer, from May to August, and they're also very popular. So we have, and then Michael Korn, who is the orchestra director at the high school, he has a 3-day chamber music festival during June, and that is magnificent. He has professional players who come, and then he has students who learn from those professionals, so they have workshops. So any of you violinists out there, or tuba players, or whoever you are, think about calling Michael Korn at the high school. He's a wonderful violinist himself, a virtuosus.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
And what about all the board meetings?
Oh my gosh,
God,
all those board meetings.
School committee.
Oh yeah, and also the select board. We need to know what they're up to, right?
Yeah, and the planning board.
Uh-huh.
What's going on around town? What's being built? What's not being built?
Right. And most people just don't attend those meetings, do they, Mark?
No, I think virtual has really helped out a lot. Mm-hmm. I know I like to watch virtually. I can sit there on my couch with a glass of beer or wine. I don't drink beer, but it's fun. You can see what's going on in town. You can get active, and just because you're not in the room.
Right, and if ECAT were not there to film these important meetings, what would happen to the community of Easton?
Well, we'd lose a lot. Mm-hmm. Communications would break down. Let's face it, ECAT covers a lot of ground. And they go sight unseen, which is huge. And they're supposed to. They're supposed to be in the background of the event. They shouldn't be in the forefront. But today is ECAT Day. So today we get to talk about ECAT, we get to put them in the forefront, and we get to recognize them and applaud them because of what they do in our community. And without them, we'd be lost. I know. Let's talk about the value that ECAT offers.
Yes, and that value it comes into everybody's home every day, 24 hours a day. And most of the programs, whether they're sports, high school sports, or concerts, or programs that we have, and we're going to introduce some of them today to you, those programs would not be possible without ECAT. All right, so Grandma and Grandpa in Toledo, Ohio, you better listen, because if you want to see your grandkid playing hockey, field hockey, or soccer, football, basketball, whatever, you need to help us today. Today we're reaching out to people. This is Donate to ECAT Day, as well as ECAT Media Day. So please think about that. You can go on eastoncat.org, those of you in Toledo and around the country and around the world, eastoncat.org, and on your computer, and you can tune in to all of those things your grandkids are doing, and you can listen to interesting programs. And Mark, you have an interesting program coming up, don't you?
Yes, I do, and we'll talk about that later when we talk about what's going on next year. But let's focus more so on what would happen if we didn't have ECAT. And I know as a parent that, and I know a lot of parents travel for work, and their son or daughter might be in a play in kindergarten, or they might be in an event in the afternoon in sports, and they don't have the chance to see them at that event. So it's nice to have ECAT, because without ECAT we wouldn't have the YouTube, we wouldn't have the streaming, all of that. We wouldn't have it, so we wouldn't be able to find it. So with ECAT, we get to watch the event at night in the comfort of our home or in the comfort of your hotel room if you're traveling, and you can see your children perform and do their sports events. As a grandparent, I'm fortunate. My children and grandchildren are right here in town. But if I were a grandparent out in Washington, D.C., like you mentioned, there would be a problem, because I wouldn't be able to participate and watch them in their events. So it's huge. So I know you mentioned Donate, and today's the day where ECAT gets a chance to reach out to the viewers and show them and tell them what we're looking at and trying to do. So today, and it's the first time we've ever reached out to our viewers, isn't that correct?
Yes, it is, and there's a reason for that. Most people don't realize that ECAT gets its funding only from the fees that are generated as subscribers to Verizon and Comcast. And as you know, Mark, what's happening? People are cutting the cord on cable. That means fewer subscribers. It means less money for us to operate. And so we are going now online and to you today live in order to ask you to participate in your community by donating to ECAT. And that can be done by writing a check and mailing it to 50 Oliver Street and Northeastern 02356. Or it can be, you can use that
QR code.
Whatever that is. And I'm embarrassed to say I don't know how to use it.
That's okay, I'll teach you.
You'll teach me, okay.
Right. So let's go a little deeper into how ECAT, one of the revenue sources of ECAT is through Comcast and Verizon. And if you look at your Comcast or Verizon bill, there's a thing called a PEG fee. And that's the public education government fee. And that fee is collected through your bill, and then Verizon and Comcast present it to the town of Easton. Then the town redirects it to ECAT, and that's how we get our funding through Verizon and Comcast. So what's been going on, as Priscilla mentioned, streaming is becoming more and more popular every day. So what we're asking is that if you're streaming, that's wonderful. I understand it. But please donate to ECAT. The PEG is somewhere between $5 and $15 a month. Please go to your QR code on the bottom of the screen or on ecat.org. That's Easton, ECAT, eastoncat.org. and donate today. It's a small portion that's going to be contributing to continuing what we do here, to continuing to upgrade our quality of equipment so we can bring a more quality program to you, as well as continuing the program and being able to do what we do here. So it's very important. And for those who have Comcast and Verizon, we thank you for your PEG fee, and please continue. But also, by adding a donation today to ECAT, it'll just send us over the top and help us thrive. I think that's an interesting word, thrive.
Yes, it is. And you know, not only can you as a resident of Easton or a grandparent in Toledo, Ohio, contribute through these mechanisms, but also we have sponsorships. And so that goes out to businesses and individuals and organizations who want to promote their business. You can sponsor a sports program, concerts. You can sponsor one of our programs. You can sponsor individual sports events. And there are many opportunities for sponsorships. And we have just launched, and we'll be launching this week, a very special program. Mark, you want to tell us about this wonderful opportunity for businesses?
Sure, I'd love to. So we have a flyer, and it's really, you might see one floating around town. We're going to do a sales blitz next week. If anybody wants to join us at Sales Blitz, they're welcome to. We love having interns to come in and help market ECAT. They can work with some of the best people that know how to market. Yeah, have them come in and talk to us, and they can join us. And it always looks great on a high school resume going to college, or a college resume going out into the work field, that you've helped ECAT, that you've worked with ECAT, and it's just gonna make a heartier resume for your future. But anyway, what we're doing is we're offering businesses an opportunity for $1,000 to have a 30-second promotional video created by ECAT, either at your workplace or you can come use the studio. And the promotional video is going to be aired over 500 times during the course of 2024. Now that does not include the times it's going to be aired on YouTube as well. And on top of that, ECAT is giving you the promotional video to put on your website, and you can also use it for your social media postings. So for $1,000, I think it's a great opportunity to get the word out, what you do, and let people know that you're in town. And it's also open for the surrounding town. So we're looking for services that service Easton. So if you feel that you're one of these companies that would like to check into this, how do they get involved, Priscilla?
Well, they can call Priscilla, that's me, at 508-272-3121, or they can email me at paolsen1@gmail.com. Or they can just simply call the studio, 508-230-7200. And this opportunity is not just for businesses, but also for organizations who are looking for new members, for example. And we calculated that it's $2 a showing. So for $2, you get 30 seconds promotion on ECAT. And don't forget eastoncat.org. And EastonCat's one word, .org. And you'll see your video on that too. So it's a wonderful opportunity, especially for businesses which don't always have repeat customers right away. Mark, give us a few examples of those businesses.
Well, for
Painters?
instance, painters, right? How often do you have your house painted? So probably every 5, 10, 15 years. So it's important to keep the flow of houses to be painted so that you can keep your business thriving.
So you roofers out there, you painters out there, even plumbers and electricians, we are another venue for you to reach the Easton community.
Car mechanics.
And beyond. And if you have a business in Brockton, Stoughton, Sharon, Foxborough, Mansfield, Norton, all these towns surrounding us, you're probably servicing a lot of Easton residents, and you want to reach out to them. So consider this business opportunity your opportunity to be promoted and get to be known, and hopefully you'll get more customers.
So as you can see, at ECAT, we're doing everything we can possibly do to bring in more revenue so that we can do more for the town of Easton. So we need your help. We've got the promotional thing going on. We're asking for donations. And this is the first time, Priscilla, that we've ever had to reach out and ask for donations. So we're starting at zero. We have no donations yet.
Right.
So we're hoping today to stimulate and change that. So please go to the website or go to the QR code today and please place a donation to help us service the community and your children and your family, and to bring them to into your living room so that you can watch them and have a history. So I know with grandchildren, you're always looking for pictures from the past. So this is a great way of seeing what went on when they're 10 years from now. You can go into the archives of ECAT and you can see where we're going, and you can then 5-10 years from now, you can go back and you can look at it. Mm-hmm. So it's a wonderful tool for the family and for everyone involved. So please support ECAT today.
Okay, and for those of us who are technologically challenged, you can write a check payable to Easton Community Access TV, or ECAT for short, and send that to 50 Oliver Street, North Easton, 02356. And we will be very pleased to accept your donation. I've been producing programs for ECAT for the past 11, 12 years, and you have seen me age and get better at it, and I've enjoyed it immensely. But what I've noticed is the quality of shows and programming has really, really risen. Just wonderful technological people here who really know their business and are always looking for new ideas and are open to the community. So for example, if you have an idea for a program and you want to volunteer, call Kim Pincus, Executive Director, or Adam Carrero, Deputy Director, Executive Director, and talk about your ideas. And more than likely, they'll be able to create a program for you that you can share with people in Easton. So Easton is not a closed circuit. It's there to involve its citizens who have opinions or have talents and so forth. So today you're going to see some of those shows that have been created. One of them is my show. I have several, but the most popular one and the most prolific one is Community Forum. Mark is starting with Informed, right?
Well informed.
Well informed. And it's about your finances and so forth. It's going to be a wonderfully interesting program and very necessary, not just for seniors, but for those who are middle-aged, even young people, when they're just starting out, and how to prepare for their financial future. So,
well, thank you. Should we bring Kim up to
yes,
see what we've done
let's
this
do that.
past year and maybe talk about what's going to be going on next year? Come on up. Come join us, Kim. You want a chair?
I'll grab myself a chair.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So talk to us. What have we done this past year at ECAT to enhance the community, to give them more value?
Well, one of the big things that we've done is we completely redid our system in Town Hall. So we have new microphones. It's fully integrated with hybrid, so we can have those virtual and in-person combination meetings and have them, work well with the best audio possible for those meetings. We also redid our smaller studio, and that's been very popular. It's podcast studio. So we've had some new shows in there, and those shows can have call-ins and virtual guests, which is new for us.
And there's a new show called Tuesday Triviality that takes place in that room.
Yeah, that's a great show. And I'd love to encourage people to participate in that. It's a live trivia show, and there's 3 rounds per episode, and each round you can win a $50 gift card to local businesses. So it's a great way to learn about some local businesses and also to have fun in a trivia night.
I think one of the objectives of ECAT is to continue to build on a platform, but to continue to improve it, because Easton is a community that demands quality. And I think for ECAT to not offer updated, state-of-the-art programs and quality of broadcasting would not reflect the community that we represent. And that's why we're reaching out today. And so what next year, what are we looking for? What can we expect from ECAT in 2024?
Well, one of the things that we're working towards now is to redo this main studio so that we can modernize that for the expectations that people have today. You know, since COVID, people expect to be able to participate virtually in media. It's become incredibly common. And so we want the studio to be able to do that. And we want it to have updated audio, an updated look, and to really make that more practical for our viewers today and also for our hosts and guests today.
And ECAT has already done some of that upgrading. Want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so again, we redid our podcast studio, so that gives people the opportunity to have virtual programs, but that is a smaller studio, so there's can only be so many people in that room.
And Zooms can be done in that room.
Zooms can be done in that room. And we got some new equipment for live streaming. You may have noticed if you watch ECAT regularly that we've increased our live streaming quite a bit, and we've been having multiple live streams going simultaneously, so that's been a change as well.
And what about the select board meetings and other meetings? Haven't you enhanced the quality of those broadcasts?
Yeah, so you'll see a dramatic difference in select board meetings. Again, we redid that entire room. It can handle hybrid. It has new mics. We also got on the fiber between here and Town Hall, so our signal is much better and very consistent. You're not going to notice any interruptions like you used to see sometimes when we were over Wi-Fi.
So what can a community, beyond donations, we're asking for that today, what can the community do to support ECAT in terms of internships? I mean, internships is so important. And I know everybody wants to be paid for an internship, but we don't have that ability yet. With more donations, we would. But we don't have that ability. But internships that are unpaid are such an educational opportunity. It opens the doors for high school students, college students to further their exposure to the broadcasting industry, to editing, and how can we integrate those internships, and what would they expect if they came to ECAT as a volunteer intern?
Good question.
Yeah, I mean, we would love to have people come to intern. Anybody's welcome to volunteer at any age. We provide free training on all aspects of production. So editing in Premiere or Final Cut, mostly Premiere because that's what we tend to use here. We're always looking for people to help with the live events, which gets you experience as a live camera operator. We need help in the studio. That gives you experience operating a board. It gets you the training that you need to be, a value when you're looking into your career. It makes a big difference for people. I did it when I was starting out.
I love volunteering. I think I've always, some of my some of the people that I work with, I met them from internships or doing volunteer work at certain people,
Yeah,
or
and I think
just helping people out.
one of the things, the technical aspects are important, but one of the best parts of community television, I think, is the community part. I mean, you learn about so many things in town that you wouldn't know about otherwise. Because a lot of us, we live in town, but we go to work and we come home, and we're not doing a lot in our towns. So when you watch community television or you participate in community television, you see all of these things going on in your community.
Well, it's interesting because I took ECAT for granted. I've been in town. I'm the third or fourth generation in Easton, and when my children were growing up in town, I watched them on TV. I watched the graduation ceremony on TV, and I just took it for granted. I didn't realize what's behind what you guys do because you're in the background, and you're supposed to be. But it's such a tremendous service to the town that it's unmeasurable.
And today what we want to point out is that ECAT has such value to the community, to each one of us, and that we don't want to see it disappear. And that is a likely possibility if people continue to cut the cable cord. And so we're going to be asking today and every day for the community to come to our rescue and support ECAT in a way that they feel good about themselves and about their community. After all, this is a wonderful value, wonderful service, and so many aspects of life, all aspects of life are covered here. So please contribute.
And it's probably worth mentioning that we are a 501c nonprofit, so any donations are tax-free.
And we are also, it's important to note that our tax dollars in Easton do not go to support ECAT.
Right, they do not.
And don't you think that that is a common misunderstanding, that ECAT is a town agency, which it is not, that it's funded by tax dollars, which it is not. It's totally funded by the subscriber fee that Mark mentioned is on your cable bill. And so we are reaching out today to make you aware of that and to know that your contribution is of great value to us and to your neighbors in Easton to continue this wonderful service.
Yeah, and if I could bring up one other thing that we do, we've talked a lot about television programs. We also do some film programs. We have a high school film festival that's open to the 14 surrounding towns that are in the Hockomock Sports League. We also have middle school workshops where middle school kids can work together and they create short films. And we have actually a filmmaker who worked with us to create their own film, and so we're going to have that coming out live in about a week.
Oh, wow. And then also the film sprint, 48 hours to create a film. I don't know who can do that, but people do.
Yeah, and that's a very fun community building event too, and that one is for all ages.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the other night I watched Jack and the Beanstalk, and that was really cool. I watched Dick Tracy one night, so it's kind of nice. And it's when you scroll down the channels, it's a positive addiction. I want to sit there and watch. As much the word addiction has a negative connotation, this is a positive one, because you sit there and you watch and you get pulled in to some of the conversations that Meredith and Stephanie about spiders, and you just get pulled in. The late evening shows that you guys broadcast, the Jack and the Beanstalk.
Yeah, so that's the old time movie show, which is a lot of fun. So we pick movies that are in the public domain, and we do like little introductory skits, and then we have a talk show about them to go more into depth on why they were important and to learn a little about those films.
So also it's important for the community to understand we're here to serve them, and we need to know what they want. So don't be afraid to reach out to us and make suggestions. We're not saying we're going to give them all.
Yeah,
but
we love to hear from people.
But we like to know what our audience wants. because we can't fulfill something unless we know what we're trying to fulfill. So please, feel free to reach out, please. We had an event at the NRT a couple of weeks ago, and we set up a booth, and we were video taping. Is that an old-fashioned word, video? We don't videotape anymore, we record.
Yeah.
We were recording young people, people to come by and interview them, and it was great. And I think we got like 400 views on one of them, which was awesome. So it's telling us what people want. And when they were coming by, people were saying, "Oh, I like ECAT. I work with ECAT. I want to work with ECAT. I volunteer." Please let us know what you're looking for. Let us know what we can do to help service the community, because that's what it's all about.
All right. Yeah.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
And now, Mark Cadoza is going to
Yes.
present.
Well, let's have a little break first,
Okay.
and we can get reset.
Oh, all right.
Sounds good?
Sounds good.
Sounds great.
We'll be back
Thank you.
in a jiffy.
Hey there, I'm Gail Devins, and join me as we discover all the businesses that made Easton great. This is a wonderful, wonderful place. I cannot wait. I want to do it. I want to go there. I am definitely coming back, and I know you will too, because I'm telling you something. It is absolutely amazing in here. It's what a wonderful way to discover Easton. It's right here in Easton. Showing at noon on Mondays, 2 p.m. on Tuesdays, and 11 a.m. on Fridays, only on ECAT.
Hello, welcome to Easton News. I'm Abby Kitchenham.
And I'm Jack Ryan, and together we bring you everything you need to know about Easton, including politics.
The annual town election is scheduled for Saturday, April 22nd, 2023.
Community events.
Be Inspired. Counseling presents a parent and child coping workshop centered around a new year and new beginnings.
And sports.
Pressure builds diamonds, so we live by that every day of practice, going into every game.
With APCSM guest segment Pet of the Week.
Hi, I'm Katie with the Animal Protection Center, and today we have a little Iris.
With help from special correspondent Wyatt Fain. Join us
For Easton News.
Playing 6 o'clock Friday, Saturday, and Sundays.
Hello everybody and welcome to the official first episode of Eatin' with ECAT. My name is Joseph Taft.
I'm Jack Ryan.
And I'm Abby Kitchenham.
We are, in fact, your co-hosts, and we are determined to bring you all the big eats that you can handle. So listen, if you're a foodie, you're not going to want to miss any of the action. Check out our website, www.eastoncat.org, or find us on social, at EastonCat, to find this episode on demand.
Oh, you're going down, Kitchen. You're going down. You're going down.
I got through the foam, and I'm getting a little more down to the... It's like...
The fact that there's jelly in this just unsettles me.
A Reuben sandwich is the best sandwich out. The sauerkraut mixed with the Thousand Island and the rye bread.
This is something I have never seen before.
We're good. We're all family here.
Where does the ice cream begin?
Big
and
bite.
The whipped cream. And
No more plate.
don't have time to sit down and watch ECAT programs? Don't worry, ECAT has got you covered. That's right, ECAT has
Podcast!
ECAT Podcast Channel has your favorite shows that you could listen to. Whether you want to chill and listen to the Ron Van Dam Show and hear him talk about what's bothering him that day, or the show hosted by local legends Stephanie Weinstein and Meredith Keach, where they talk about anything and everything, or take a listen to the weekly news hosted by Jack Ryan and Abby Kitchenham. Stay tuned in with Tiger Talk hosted by Oliver Ames students. Community Forum is where their host Priscilla talks about all things Easton. Easton residents can also find government meetings about various topics. You can find the podcast on Podbean and all your favorite podcast platforms. Just by searching ECAT or the ECAT podcast, you can find it all. The ECAT podcast channel is powered by Podbean, so either in the car ride or walking around town, you can always catch what's going on with ECAT. Happy listening!
Welcome to Service Matters, a weekly radio show that talks about the good things that are happening in local communities and beyond.
Since 1978, the Easton Food Pantry has been dedicated to providing food to our neighbors in times of need. As long as there's hungry people in our community, our doors are open, our hearts will be open to help.
We also like to talk about the good things that people do to make a difference, and in many cases, to make dreams real for folks out there in need.
Just to chat about, as you say, some of the good things in life. There's some of the good things, the great things, and the happy things.
And certainly watch us on ECAT, Easton Community Access Television.
Welcome back. Again, my name is Mark Cardozer, and this coming year, starting in January, we've already recorded 5 or 6 episodes, but we want to have quite a few in the bank before we start broadcasting. But we've come up with a program called Well Informed. Well Informed is about practical financial matters. Okay, it's not about the typical matters. So topics are generally useful in life and sometimes don't appear to be of the financial nature, but they are, such as long-term care planning. The topic of long-term care planning can be detrimental to a financial plan, a household, a portfolio. So, and we'll get into that. And the nice part about the whole thing is there's actually 3 or 4 episodes all based on long-term care planning. And when you watch all those planning episodes, you get a really great view and a bunch of resources to help you through the planning process and the implementation of that. So among the series of the long-term care planning is PACE, which is a program that is right up the street. Go down Main Street into Brockton. It's on the corner of Torrey and Pearl Street. And they're here today with us. Norma Murata is with us from PACE, and she's going to give us a little rundown of what PACE is and the role of the community. And this is, we did a full documentary there, so this is just a taste of what went on in that documentary. Norma, welcome.
Hi, Mark. Good morning, and thanks for having us here again today, and thanks to Easton Cable Access TV for including PACE in this program.
Well, so talk to us. So what's PACE? First of all, what's PACE? Those are acronyms.
What isn't PACE?
And then, what does it do for our community?
Sure. PACE stands for Program of All-Inclusive Care for the Elderly, and this is, as I say, an all-inclusive care that is designed to assist older adults in our service area stay at home in their community with all the services, products, medical support, and behavioral and social support, including nutrition, transportation, pharmacy services, primary and specialty care, behavioral health, I think I already mentioned, social work, nursing, skilled therapies, any of the services and supports that would enable them to stay safe at their home rather than have to transition to a Medicaid bed in a skilled nursing facility.
How does that impact a person financially?
PACE is almost exclusively for those who are dually eligible for both Medicare and Medicaid, which would be Mass Health here in Massachusetts. When somebody is dually eligible for both of those programs and we become their insurance provider as well as their service provider and care team, there is no cost at all to the patient. There is no deductible, there are no co-pays, there are no hidden fees. There's no monthly membership or any of those costs that are usually associated with insurance plans.
So what kind of planning goes into becoming eligible?
Good financial planning, proactivity can help a lot. most of the people who come to us have found themselves in a situation where they are low income and do not have many assets and are going to be eligible for both Medicare and Mass Health at a certain point in their lives. But others who are of modest means or even significant means have done planning ahead of time in their 40s, 50s, 60s with someone like you, and they've made the correct moves that enable them to access services that they may otherwise not have, not be able to afford, or would not have access to.
So estate planning and tax planning
Is
plays a role.
absolutely key. It's pivotal for so many people. Our greatest referrals come from financial planners and elder law attorneys who are able to identify and recommend some planning to people that if they get to the age where they are PACE eligible, which is 55 for those who have a permanent disability and 65 and older for those who do not, they find themselves positioned to look into accessing benefits from the public and nonprofit sector, which includes Harbor Health PACE in our area here in southeastern Mass.
So PACE's objective is to keep people out of...
Absolutely. Certainly there are folks whose clinical needs exceed what can be
Say
provided.
that word. Out of nursing homes.
Out of nursing homes. We all want to stay out of nursing homes.
We don't like to talk about nursing
We do
homes.
not like to talk about nursing homes. Of course, there are some circumstances where that's unavoidable due to 24/7 care needs and such. However, outcomes with PACE are significantly better than similar older adults who do not receive the PACE model of care, and enrolling earlier, planning earlier contributes to stronger outcomes and the ability to stay home
It's all about positioning.
permanently. It absolutely is, and we don't like to think about getting older, possibly being sick, possibly needing things like medical equipment and some of the other services that people that may need, but they are here.
Right. So what you're telling me is some people position themselves to fit the
Absolutely.
financial requirements of PACE. Other people just organically
Find themselves in the
in the
situation.
need for PACE.
Yes.
Right. Wonderful. Wonderful. And also, PACE isn't just about in-home care, but you have a beautiful center, and the documentary that we did presents the center.
I can't wait to see it. Thank you for mentioning
Yeah,
that.
and it's a beautiful center, and people get picked up in your van. They're
Yes, they do.
transported to the center. They spend the day at the center, then they go home and they're cared for at home. But then there's another group of people that don't go to the center or can't go to the center, and they're cared for at home.
Correct.
So we're keeping people out of that nursing home, which is the objective.
That is everyone's goal.
So the other thing that we also have in the light of things is assisted living. So PACE also has room in assisted living communities.
We do. There are approximately 10 assisted living communities throughout our service area at which we are contracted. Sometimes there are people who have already begun living there. They've gone through their cash. They have no other options about where to live. They are able to transition onto a PACE program within the assisted living where we're bringing in services to them throughout whatever their needs are. We can name a few of them if you like, but that's not necessarily relevant for everybody. And then certainly people who are living in a private home or with family members in assisted living is the best option for them. They are also PACE eligible at the same time, and then they can enroll in the assisted living at the same time as they're enrolling in PACE and move in and have our services in addition to all the wonderful things that come in a community.
Right. And I travel past your center day in and day out. I mean, how many times as a kid I would go to past that, and it used to be a temple.
It did.
And it's a great facility. It's great.
A beautiful
community.
building.
You put like $12 million into it.
They sure did. It's a beautiful building. It's obviously fully accessible. People can see their doctors, therapists, get their PT and OT while they are there. As you mentioned, it was Temple Beth Amun for many years, and when that congregation merged with another group outside of Brockton, we were able to obtain the building and work closely with some members of the congregation to respect the integrity and the history of the building while bringing in this program that's going to serve so many people in Brockton, Easton, Norton, Taunton, and the surrounding towns here in southeastern Mass.
Nice. So let's jump over to the assisted living section. So that can be a nightmare trying to find the right assisted living. Michelle, how many assisted living communities are in Massachusetts?
Over 200.
Over 200. So you not only do you need to find an assisted living that it has medical needs. It could be a memory care unit. It could be a community that has certain attributes, but it also has a financial perspective. So Michelle Woodbury is here from Two Sisters, and her role is to find the needle in the haystack.
Yes, or help you find the needle in the haystack.
So tell us, how do you find the needle in the haystack? And first of all, tell us what Two Sisters is all about, why you started it, and how you find that needle.
Sure. Well, my name is Michelle, and my sister's name is Allison. We have been doing this for 13 years. We actually grew up in the nursing home arena. Our father was a nursing home administrator, and instead of going to daycare, we went to a nursing home. So I have a long history of helping people understand what each one of these different options are. So what's the difference between an assisted living and a nursing home? Most people, when they call us, they want to stay home. So how do you do that? How can we make home successful for you? And we work with folks to help them find, in addition to home care agencies, assisted living communities and nursing homes. And our goal too is to try to keep people from having to move into nursing homes. And we do that by having a consultation and establishing what somebody's goal is. So everybody has different goals, but they all tend to be, I want to stay home until the end, or I never want to go to a nursing home. Those are the two most common. So, and if there's a couple, I want to stay with my spouse. So figuring out what is the most important goal and then creating plans to get to that goal is essentially what we do, and then making sure that people have the resources and the connections to follow up and put an action plan in place.
Nice. So what goes into finding that needle in the haystack, that one community?
Well, I think one of the things is that in many circumstances, there isn't just one community. There are a few that could be a good fit, and it depends on a number of different scenarios. But we look at three primary criteria. We look at care needs, what somebody's care needs are, what they may be in the future. We look at their budget, and we look at their location preferences. Sometimes I have people, maybe more than sometimes, I have people who are very specific about something. I have a client right now who is a vegetarian, so we're looking for a community that has a vegetarian menu. There's a number of hot spots that people are very specific about, but generally we look at care, location, and budget. In conversations with people, we realize that typically one of those is the driver. It's either because of the care needs that we have to look at something specific because they're specifically looking at a certain location, or because their budget will only maintain them for so long in certain areas. So when we look at those things, and then I have a database and a sister, so we get together and we talk about all the criteria that would meet what this person is looking for and what would help them thrive, and then we match them with those needles in the haystack.
Yeah, so let's put ourselves in perspective with the family members that are the caregivers caring for that parent, or it doesn't always have to be the parent, it could be a spouse at their home. Suddenly they cross this bridge where they say, we need to find a place. I can't care for my spouse, or I can't care for my parent at home anymore. It's just not working. And then they say, okay, now we have to start shopping for an assisted living community. Shoot me now, because that's a lot of work. Seriously.
People don't even know where to start.
It's
like, as Michelle said, there are hundreds.
Right.
They need it to be someplace that's convenient for all the siblings, or near their own home, or near their work, or whatever it is, and then they start looking at pricing, and that can be very intimidating. So to have some education ahead of time before you step foot through a door and are part of a sales pitch, it's completely advantageous to talk to an expert.
Yeah, so I use this story all the time, and I know we've used it before. My wife and I, my mother wanted to buy a pair of slacks one day, and she has a walker. So we got in the car, we drove over to Macy's. At the time, Macy's was in Brockton. And we got out of the car, pulled the walker out, she walked in, opened the door, she walked in the front of the store, and she looked around, she sighed, big sigh. And I looked at her and I said, "What's the matter?" She goes, "I only want one pair of slacks." And there were over 1,000 to choose from. So that's, if that's the needle in the haystack, how do you find it? And that's the hard part. And that's what Michelle and her sister hopefully take off the table or lessen the problem.
Like if we were going to help your mom find slacks, which I love that term is not used anymore. So definitely
What do you call it?
Pants.
Pants.
So if I was going to go, I would find out what are the characteristics of the slacks that your mom is looking for.
Okay.
And so rather than just looking at all of these slacks, does she want something that's ankle length? Does she want something that has elastic? Oh wait, that's me. So what is she looking for? And then we can kind of look at what are going to meet that need, rather than just all willy-nilly being like, well, let's try this pair on and let's try.
Well, she's in a walker.
Much less overwhelming to have it narrowed down before you go into the fitting room.
Right. So she has to go to a fitting room. So it's like walking into an assisted living, saying, "This is wonderful. Now, how does it fit?" So how do assisted livings allow you to check on how it fits?
Well, there's a number of ways. I think my advice in many circumstances is for the adult children, if that's who I'm working with, to visit first. And narrow it down to a few different places, and then bring their loved one for lunch and sort of choreograph the tour. So they're taking them very specifically to a certain apartment or a certain area to look at the community and really streamline that whole process. There are opportunities to try out an assisted living. It's called a respite stay.
Nice.
And this is something that my company has used with many of our clients over the years very successfully. It's very hard to anticipate the good things that are going to come out of a situation that we've never experienced before. And when I hear you say something like, "Oh, shoot me now," I smirk a little. I try to do it internally, but I guess it comes out. I smirk a little because I know that isn't going to be the end result. In many, many circumstances, although that is how people feel when they begin working with me and my sister, by the time we're done, they're in a place that they're comfortable with. They may not have moved yet, but they know where they want to move when the time comes. And if there is a crisis or an incident in the meantime, they know that they have a plan they can implement.
So how does this all fit in well informed? Well, I think we've informed well for what but there's a full documentary on assisted livings, and Michelle and Norma are part of that documentary, but also it's at Christopher Heights in Attleboro, which the representative was supposed to be here but can't. But they have multiple ways of paying for the assisted living service. And one of them is PACE, and the other one is a housing credit they use. So it's important to understand what I liked about Christopher Heights when we were there. The individual goes to Christopher Heights, and financially they never have to leave, because even if they were to run out of money, which that happens, they don't have to leave because they have means of keeping them there.
And no one's going to really know that out in the world unless they've seen your documentary or spoken to somebody like one of us. If they're just looking up assisted livings near Attleboro or assisted livings in whatever zip code, they're going to look at the prices that are online, immediately assume there's no way that dad can live here, we can never afford this, and they're going to try to patchwork some other, maybe not very successful services in the home, or go without things that their parent or loved one should have. They're never going to know there are things like those tax credit programs. They're never going to know that they can speak to somebody who can narrow it down and not have the process be so overwhelming, so much wasting time looking at things and options that are not appropriate for their family. So really that, again, comes back to the proactivity and planning ahead.
Yeah, and Michelle and Norma, they coordinate. Yeah. So if Michelle meets with a person, a family, and she reviews their needs, she can then turn around and pivot them to PACE. She can pivot them to the right place for them. And it helps. It just takes the burden off the family of trying to figure it all out.
There's a big range in pricing. And so when we look at what's driving somebody's search, in many cases it is their budget. So if it's a budget concern, then we look at the geography. Is similar to real estate. There are certain areas that are naturally more expensive than others. And so we look at the geography, we look at what their care needs are. Do they qualify for a program like PACE or another subsidy that can help offset the cost of assisted living? Mm-hmm. And then we can adjust the search that way. But in addition to Christopher Heights, there are assisted living communities all over the state that try to have apartment options that are affordable for people. And honestly, in many circumstances, assisted livings, mm-hmm. especially with the assistance of PACE, are the least expensive care option available if somebody needs 24-hour supervision.
And you've referred to that many times when you explain to the audience or to people who you're working with, this is an expense you're not going to have anymore once you move in. You're also not going to have to pay for this. You don't have to worry about your heat bill in the winter or filling the oil tank, every 6 weeks or whatever people have to do. So shoveling. But some of the household expenditures that are adding to their checks that they write out every month, they will no longer have. And when that comes to the forefront, they don't see the monthly fee, whatever it is, after PACE or wherever they've decided to be, as so unachievable.
Awesome. I think we've given them a view of the practical financial matters that we're talking about when we talk about well-informed.
Thank you.
And we get into other things too, to get deeper into other things. But it's a great platform, and I hope that the viewers look for it in January, and I think it's going to be exciting. And thank you, Michelle. Thank you for Norma. And thank you, Norma, for being here today. And
thanks.
We hope that we've filled the viewers with some hope.
There's a lot to be optimistic about in most circumstances, and I can help. Help.
We can help, just have to ask.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Reach out. Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Gail Devins, and join me as we discover all the businesses that made Easton great. This is a wonderful, wonderful place. I cannot wait. I want to do it. I want to go there. I am definitely coming back, and I know you will too, because I'm telling you something. It is absolutely amazing in here. What a wonderful way to discover Easton. It's right here in Easton. Showing at noon on Mondays, 2 p.m. on Tuesdays, and 11 a.m. on Fridays, only on ECAT.
Hello, welcome to Easton News. I'm Abby Kitchenham.
And I'm Jack Ryan, and together we bring you everything you need to know about Easton, including politics.
The annual town election is scheduled for Saturday, April 22nd, 2023.
Community events.
Be Inspired. Counseling presents a parent and child coping workshop centered around a new year and new beginnings.
And sports.
Pressure builds diamonds, so We live by that every day at practice, going into every game.
With APCSM guest segment Pet of the Week.
Hi, I'm Katie with the Animal Protection Center, and today we have a little Iris.
With help from special correspondent Wyatt Fain. Join us
for Easton News.
Playing 6 o'clock Friday, Saturday, and Sundays.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the official first episode of Eatin' with ECAT. My name is Joseph Taft.
I'm Jack Ryan.
And I'm Abby Kitchenham.
We are, in fact, your co-hosts, and we are determined to bring you all the big eats that you can handle. So listen, if you're a foodie, you're not going to want to miss any of the action. Check out our website, www.eastoncat.org, or find us on social, at EastonCat, to find this episode on demand.
Oh, you're going down, Kitchenham. You're going down. You're going down.
I got through the foam, and I'm getting a little more down to the... It's like...
The fact that there's jelly in this just unsettles me.
A Reuben sandwich is the best sandwich out. The sauerkraut mixed with the Thousand Island and the rye bread.
This is something I have never seen before.
We're good. We're all family here.
Where does the ice cream begin?
Big
and
bite.
the whipped cream. And
No more plate.
Don't have time to sit down and watch ECAT programs? Don't worry, ECAT has got you covered. That's right, ECAT has
podcast.
ECAT Podcast Channel has your favorite shows that you could listen to. Whether you want to chill and listen to the Ron Van Dam Show and hear him talk about what's bothering him that day, or the show hosted by local legends Stephanie Weinstein and Meredith Keach, where they talk about anything and everything, or take a listen to the weekly news hosted by Jack Ryan and Abby Kitchenham. Stay tuned in with Tiger Talk hosted by Oliver Ames students. Community Forum is where their host Priscilla talks about all things Easton. Easton residents can also find government meetings about various topics. You can find the podcast on Podbean and all your favorite podcast platforms. Just by searching ECAT or the ECAT podcast, you can find it all. The ECAT podcast channel is powered by Podbean, so either in the car ride or walking around town, you can always catch what's going on with ECAT. Happy listening!
Welcome to Service Matters, a weekly radio show that talks about the good things that are happening in local communities and beyond.
Since 1978, the Easton Food Pantry has been dedicated to providing food to our neighbors in times of need. As long as there's hungry people in our community, our doors are open, our hearts will be open to help.
We also like to talk about the good things that people do to make a difference, and in many cases, to make dreams real for folks out there in need.
Just to chat about, as you say, some of the good things in life. There's some of the good things, the great things, and the happy things.
And certainly watch us on ECAT, Easton Community Access Television.
Welcome back to ECAT Day, the celebration where we're recognizing ECAT. And before we talk to our next host/guest, we want to bring back what we discussed at the very beginning of today's show for those viewers that are just joining us. Today's ECAT Day, as I mentioned, it's a celebration of what we do in town and the people that do it. And we're also, for the first time in the history of ECAT, we're asking for donations. Now, it's not an easy thing to ask for donations. You need a need. So we do have a need. It's an issue. So in today's world, things change, and streaming has become very popular. And a lot of times when people stream, they terminate their service from Verizon and Comcast. And at ECAT, we receive the PEG fee that is on your bill, on your Verizon or Comcast bill. That directly goes to the town, and the town then redirects it to ECAT for support. So, you know what's happening with streaming? People aren't using aren't using Comcast and Verizon, so therefore we're not getting that fee. So we're asking you, if you're using streaming and have gotten rid of your Comcast and Verizon bill, it's a wonderful thing, but please donate to ECAT, because we provide a service in town that needs your help to keep it up to date, to keep it growing, to keep providing what we do in town. We need your donation. So if you look at your PEG bill, it's probably going to be somewhere between $5 and $15 a month, which is probably equal to a Starbucks coffee. So please donate once a month. Go online, or you can go to the QR code at the bottom of the screen and just donate for us and keep us alive. We provide, and if you have a parent or you're out of town and they're out of town, they can donate too, because as a grandparent, and if I were out of town, I'd want to watch my children at their performances or at their sports event. And this allows them to watch it through YouTube. So enough said, let's move on with the show. And Priscilla, who do we have?
Yes. Well, one of the most popular shows is Topic Time. And the host is Harrison Young, who's here between us, smiling. And Harrison, welcome.
Thank you.
And tell us a little bit about what your show does. We know, but the audience doesn't. So,
okay. Well, the show began humbly enough. I guess I mean it was humble at the beginning, because I had no idea how far I was going to go with it. On Wednesday, August 18th of 2010, at a different cable station, I had no strategy at the time. I thought to myself, I had just spent a year weighing the pros and cons of starting my own show, when a year earlier I had been just cast into the spotlight as a sports talk show co-host for another gentleman's show at the same station, because I was doing some work at the radio station on a sports talk show that they had on Sunday afternoons, and he was a friend of the host of that show. And he said to me, "You sure know your sports. How'd you like to be my co-host on the sports page," which was a show that he had at the TV station. I said, "Really? Sure, why not?" So I showed up at the TV station the night I was supposed to start in the summer of 2009, and he called in and he said, "Host the show yourself. I can't make it in." And I go, "How am I going to do that?" He goes, "You can handle it." Well, I did pretty good. I had an MMA guy out in LA that I interviewed. He called in, and I thought to myself, "Wow, that wasn't so bad." But as the summer progressed in 2009, Joe O'Neill, good guy, but he was kind of temperamental, and we had our issues. And eventually, I left, and thought to myself, over the next year, I said, maybe I can start my own show. I'm pretty good at talking and stuff. So eventually, something lit a fire under me, and a year later, like I said, August 18th of 2010, it was a Wednesday, I called the TV station and I said, I'm going to start my own show. I think I can do it. You guys have an open spot? And they said, yeah, come on in at 5 o'clock on Wednesday and you're doing it and you're in. So I did. Now we were going live and we were taking calls. I was actually, I'm a big fan of the Howie Carr show. I don't always agree with what, the radio commentator. I don't always agree with some of the stuff he says, but I like his ability to be sarcastic and witty at the same time. And so I've thought to myself, well, maybe I can get people to call in and I could be the visual Howie Carr, at least on a local level here. And I did get, ironically, the first night that I did the show, I got one call and it was from Joe, the guy whose show I'd been on a year earlier. And he didn't know he was on the air with me. He didn't even know I'd started my own show. The thing is, they only had one phone line that rang in all 3 departments, and he was actually calling in to talk to the boss. And I said, Joe, you're not going to believe this. You're on the air with me. I just started my own TV show called Topic Time. And I had no guests. Also, let me frame it a little more. The first few months, I had no guests. I had no suit. What I would do is I'd bring in the newspapers of the week, the news of the week, Time Magazine, and I'd try to just get people to call in and discuss the issues. I'd read them off or whatever and talk about what was on my mind. The first night, though, I just wanted to see if I could fill an hour, which I did. And then when he called, I go, you're on the air with me? And he goes, wow. And we had like a 20-minute discussion. So that was great. The next few months went by. I'd come in every Wednesday and do the show, 5 to 6, live. Didn't get too many calls, got a few. When I started getting them, I was excited. I loved getting the idea of people calling in and expressing their opinions to me, because that's, you know, that was what I was hoping to do. But I ended up having one guest in the fall of 2010. And this was a guy I'd met on he'd done a video for me a year earlier. He'd done like a voiceover for a video. I found him on a now defunct website called Boston Film Space named Frankie and Bergamo. So he was my first guest. So going into 2011, I would go on Facebook and I started just reaching out to people. I was starting to get a little confident that I could talk to people on TV. And next thing I know, I'm reaching out to people everywhere, and people are literally, some of them traveling hundreds of miles to do my show. But there were people that were living pretty far away that couldn't really, you know, it would be inconvenient for them to travel, like out of state, to come and do my show. So at that time, I was going on the road and doing in-home interviews, bringing the camera and stuff to their homes and stuff, and setting up the equipment. I'm not really, I've learned that I was not a tech, I was a talent only. Because a lot of times I'd have trouble editing the shows and I'd bring it back to the station. Nevertheless, we got some pretty good in-home interviews, and I got a lot of driving in, believe me. And then eventually, a few years went by, and I was trying to get more guests and do this and that. And eventually, they all say that the winds of change, you have to follow them. Topic time, the TV station, it was time to move the show in 2014 after 4 years, because the TV station was moving to their new high school. And that had been a plan that had been 3 years in the making. But I used to schedule people on my show from Facebook 3 to 6 months in advance. But logistically, you can't run a TV station and move at the same time. So I knew the people that I'd had scheduled, I'd have to reschedule if I was gonna go along with the move.
Harrison.
Yes.
When did you come to ECAT?
I came to ECAT several years after this, but I'm trying to break down the timeline, and I was going to get to ECAT when I get to the.
Okay. Well, we'd like to hear about the guests that you bring, and maybe you could tell us a little bit about the most interesting guest, the most unusual guest that you can remember.
Okay. Well, The thing is, I can't. It's hard to really break that down, you know. And I mean, if I told you who the most unusual guest was, I had a woman on.
If I were to ask you,
okay,
without thinking, which is the first one that pops to your mind?
Well, it's the one I don't want to just blurt it all out. I want to be careful when I mention this, because this is a woman I had on here at ECAT back on last December 8th. I'm not going to name her because she did some things that were pretty bizarre after I had her on the show.
Bizarre's good.
Well, okay, bizarre. Well, I don't want to go too far with what.
All right.
But
you're keeping us in suspense. We like that.
Okay, she started inboxing me on Facebook at the weird hours and blathering incoherently to me.
Okay, so who can you talk to us about that is the first person in your mind?
Okay, who can I?
Other than that person.
Okay, I don't know. Let me see. I've had so many guests over the years. Does it have to be someone I had here at ECAT, or can it be? All right.
You. We're interviewing you.
All right. I'm gonna have to dig deep into my brain a little bit for that, because I've had so many different guests. And
What's your youngest guest?
Oh, the youngest guest. Yeah, that I can give you. She's actually an Eastonite. Her name was Molly Jane McCarthy.
Why? Why did you interview her?
Well, because she's a film actress.
What kind of film?
Well, from what I understand, the films she did were pretty dramatic. She didn't do anything comical.
She cry a lot?
No, yeah, in the film she did. Yeah. She was a great guest on my show.
Yeah.
Her mother brought her in to do the interview, that was in 2018. That was in the spring of 2018, just a few months before I brought the show here.
So what was her name again?
Molly Jane McCarthy.
And she was on a television show?
Yeah, she was on my show, Topic Time.
Was she on any other shows?
Yes, I believe she was on one of the. I think she was on the public access show in Foxborough too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, I think what Mark is getting at is what productions was she in?
Well, she was in I believe she was mentioned at the Cannes Film Festival.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's in Paris?
Well, it was in Cannes, France.
Cannes,
Paris, France. Cannes, France, of course.
Cannes. Spelled Cannes, but
it's like
the S is
champagne
silent.
comes from
grapes.
Champagne. No, champagne comes from Champagne, Paris.
Oh, it's a French word,
it's
right?
Grape,
oui, I get it.
Yeah,
okay.
We squish a grape.
I got you. Stomp grape,
squish,
swamp, whatever. Potato, diamond, Madonna, whatever.
French fries baked.
Exactly. Yeah, sweet. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yams.
Well, but she was in some productions that we looked at highlights of. And the films were pretty dramatic from what I saw. The footage from what I saw, she played a troubled girl who was the film that they edited into my show. She was having some problems with people with a custody battle between parents and things like that. Yeah. So it was pretty dramatic. I think her real life is pretty good from what I understand. Like I said, she's an Easton resident. I'm pretty
Nice.
sure. Yeah.
Nice.
So I guess she was the youngest guest.
So how do you get your guests?
Mostly through Facebook. Now you guys may know, I don't know if you know this, last year I had a guy on the show named Adam Thoreau here at ECAT, but I had him on by Zoom. He lives in Rhode Island. He's a big fan of the show. He works at Channel 12. He knew some people out in Rochester, New York, who have this podcast called Who Are These Podcasts? And they basically profile podcasts all over the country. And one day I was looking for one of my shows, and I was checking YouTube, and I saw myself profiled on their podcast, and I go, wow, this is unbelievable. And I looked at it, and they were literally roasting me, making fun of some of my guests. But it was hilarious. It was really funny, and since that show's gotten 11,000 views. And since then, because of them, I got people from all over the country that are contacting me to do the show. They all have my contact info. But still, 98% of my guests are through Facebook. I reach out, like I was telling Kim. Kim asked me a few minutes ago I guess they want some new guests for the Film Connection. I'm on Facebook. I have 4,200 something friends. And I'm always, every day I probably spend maybe 3-4 hours a day just on my little smartphone reaching out to people on Facebook asking to do the show. Now that we have Zoom, they don't even have to be local. They can be anywhere.
So you're often in the podcast room.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how does ECAT help you with your show?
Because any TV station that plays my show helps me.
So it's ECAT Day.
Right.
So what would you like to tell us about ECAT and how they helped you?
They're a big part of the Topic Time family.
Are they a big part of your life?
Yes.
How?
They do they play my show.
Is it a personal thing?
I guess. Well, if the person was good, I suppose.
Yeah, it's nothing wrong, right?
Right. Yeah. It's been. They're not the only one though. I have 2 other stations where I do the show.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah,
we have to share,
and
right?
I consider them part of the Topic Time family as well.
Yeah.
And so it took me a lot of years to really find people in TV stations where I really felt appreciated.
Yeah.
And ECAT certainly does that, doesn't he?
It definitely.
Yeah. And what value do you think ECAT gives to your particular show?
It presents it. It says, and it gives me the opportunity to share it with people all over the world. It gives me the opportunity, for instance, now, and people all over the country. It enables me to bring people, to help people through the ECAT Foundation become, enriched in their professional life. Like you guys, I don't know if you may remember this, Priscilla, 4 years ago. I had a young woman come all the way up from Key West, Florida to do the show. She performed the song on my show that she'd written. She had a couple of guys, one guy played the guitar, that were with her. One of them had found her. They were 2 brothers actually from India, but one guy lived in Boston and he was a record producer, a music producer. His brother was a marine biologist and had found her in Tampa. So she performed the song on my show, and at that time you were looking for musicians for your show that you did on Thursday evening. So what we did was we took the video of her performing on my show and we edited it into your show too, I believe.
Yes, and I interviewed her.
And you interviewed her. I didn't know that, but there you go. So that's how,
Nice.
the one hand washes the other.
Have you ever written a song?
A song?
Yeah.
No, but I've written books of short stories.
Great. What kind of short stories? I want to know who Harrison is.
Well,
tell us who Harrison is.
I'm an autistic, creative guy who doesn't come from a lot of
artistic.
Autistic.
Yeah. You have autism.
I have autism.
Okay.
I'm very high on the spectrum.
Okay.
That's what makes what I do so amazing, because the fact I've been somebody that's been thought of as being mentally challenged for most of my life too, if you can believe that. Maybe you can, maybe you can't.
Autism can be something special.
It is special. Oh, there's no question about it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is, it took me many years of being persecuted, disrespected by most of my peers in school, before I finally tried different things and found what, at least for the moment, is working for me.
So you're creative.
Yes, definitely. And I know autism enables people to be creative. And
what do you do outside of your show at ECAT and your others? What do you do outside? What do you do for work?
I basically sustain myself with I have a nest egg that's family given.
Oh, nice. I didn't mean to get into that, but that's great. That's great. But you're a creative guy. What do you do for hobbies?
Hobbies? Well, okay, I'll give you an example. I love sports. So
I want to learn about you.
Okay. I've created this we all have to stay fit and healthy and everything. Yeah. So I've created
Let's not talk about that.
What's that?
Let's not talk about that.
Well, you asked me about it, and you asked me about what my hobbies are.
I'm being funny. I'm not fit.
Okay.
I'm healthy, but not fit.
I wouldn't say that. Well, anyway, one of the things I do to stay fit, and I work out every day.
All right.
And I've created this baseball game in my house that I did this. I started this 18 and a half years ago with my old address. I lived in the house that my grandparents owned and my mother grew up in until I moved 15 years ago. So it's a game I created with a bat and with a cat, using a ball that was a cat toy, because I had a couple of cats. Yeah. Unfortunately, they've crossed the Rainbow Bridge. With a bat, and the balls were cat toys. The bat was an old broken off with an old ice scraper with the edge broken off. And I literally hit the ball in my living room and create results with wins and losses. And if I can win, it's a 6-game series I play every day, and if I win all 6 games, I win a championship. I've been done that 118 times in 18 and a half years.
So you created this game?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
And I love the game.
Any other people play with you?
No, it's for myself. But I hit, I run. It gives me the opportunity it exercises my mental capacity, because it enables me to press my brain in a little bit and force feed myself facts and write statistics down. And it stimulates the mind.
Yeah.
It really does. Just like regular sports does.
Harrison, is that something that you could market? And
something I don't want to market. I don't mind if anyone wants to watch me play, but as far as marketing the game,
that'd be a great idea. That'd be a
well,
great show, right? Having ECAT come in and watch you play this game, because we've talked about it.
I do it shirtless.
That's pretty. No.
I think I'm pretty.
We could wear a shirt. I think that shirt's great.
I could wear it. Yeah. There's certainly enough room in there. I don't know. I don't know if the people of Easton would really want to see that. My brother has seen it. He's an Easton resident.
I don't know if I want to see it either.
No, I wouldn't. The game is exciting if you understand the rules, and I would explain them. So like I said, I do have my brother and my sister-in-law, who also has a show here. She hasn't done it in a while, but they're Easton residents, and they know about the game and everything. Yeah.
So tell me, if somebody wants to be a guest on your show, how do they contact you, Harrison?
508-517-1920.
Can you slow that down? I'm kind of...
Yes, slow it down.
508-517. You guys in the graphic department?
Yep.
Are you listening?
Put it on the screen.
508-517-1920. Call, text anytime.
And what type of guests are you looking for?
Anybody I believe everyone in the world has an interesting story to tell. The only guests I wouldn't want are people that do mean things.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's, did he get my number up there? No. Okay,
he will.
Well.
He will.
Okay, but that's what I look for. I think everybody has an interesting story to tell. One day I needed a guest in a pinch, and I got a water vendor.
Nice.
And I only got him because his sister, who was a golf pro, got him for me. She was going to be a guest on the show too, but she was busy that day.
Everyone in this world has a value.
That's right. There it is. How do you like that? I wonder how many people are going to respond to that. That's going to be interesting.
Let's hope, right?
Yeah, I still have guests. There are plenty of people that still want to do the show. But one thing I want to make clear is that when I do, people here at ECAT know me now. I've been doing the show here for 5 years, as I've been doing it at my other stations. Because I have so many Facebook friends and I reach out to so many people, I managed to create the illusion that I have thousands of people waiting at my doorstep to do my show at my beck and call, and that's not true at all. It's a numbers game, and you have to work, and you have to just keep pushing it, and that's what I do.
It's an illusion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's an illusion. It's politics, if you will. But yeah, that's what it is.
Nice.
But so many people are out there that even if more often than not, I still have to get on Facebook. I have to reach out to people that don't know who I am, and sometimes they're a little freaked about, what do you want me on your show for? And if that's how they feel, I say, okay, well, I thought you'd be an interesting guest, but if you don't want to do it, I'll move on.
Well, some people aren't comfortable on camera.
I know. I know
I've
that.
had people run.
I certainly wasn't at first either.
Yeah.
So Harrison, people can obviously be on Zoom with you. They don't have to come to the studio and be intimidated by the cameras and the lights and so
That's
forth.
true.
They can and you can go into the podcast room, put your earphones on,
yes.
headset, yeah, and talk to these people, and they can be in the comfort of their home.
That's
So-
very, very common with topic time.
So everybody, look at that phone number to call Harrison. And I know, Harrison, that you have sponsors who sponsor your programs, and that is a wonderful source of income for you. And so people also who might like to sponsor your program, right? You'd like them to sponsor you.
Just all they got to do is call me at those digits.
So the question is, what's your topic?
The topic is the people I'm interviewing.
We're asking them. What's your topic?
Oh, you're asking them, okay.
Right, we're asking the viewers, what's your topic? He wants to talk to you about your topic.
Exactly right.
Exactly. And so if it's a topic that involves some of your volunteer work, some of your causes, something that you feel very dear to your heart, give Harrison a call and be on his show. Thank you, Harrison, so much for being here today and sharing Topic Time with everyone. And everyone can see Topic Time online at eastoncat.org or on Verizon or the Comcast cable stations or on YouTube. So check it out.
Or on ECAT or on TV right here in town.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Harrison.
And we're going to go to break.
There's a storm.
Join me, Priscilla Almquist-Olsen, to explore the town of Easton and its interesting, engaging, ordinary, and extraordinary people, and meet a smorgasbord of guests, including artists, authors, musicians, business owners, community organizations, clergy, local leaders, etc., etc., etc. Community Forum at 3 p.m. on Thursdays and 1:30 p.m. on Saturdays. See you then.
Hi, I'm Jen from Fantasy Crafts. Turn your average household items into fun for the whole family. Let your imagination run wild. It was my decision. You be quiet over there. Fantasy Crafts playing Monday at 3 p.m., Wednesday at 1 p.m., only at ECAT.
Hi, sports fans. Easton Community Access Television, that's ECAT, your place for all of Ames high school sports. How about football, hockey, basketball, soccer, gymnastics, swimming, wrestling, lacrosse, field hockey, and more? Join us on Comcast 97 and Verizon Channel 23.
Hi there, I'm Gail Devins, and join me as we discover all the businesses that made Easton great. This is a wonderful, wonderful place. I cannot wait. I want to do it. I want to go there. I am definitely coming back, and I know you will too, because I'm telling you something. It is absolutely amazing in here. What a wonderful way to discover Easton. It's right here in Easton. Showing at noon on Mondays, 2 p.m. on Tuesdays, and 11 a.m. on Fridays, only on ECAT.
Hello, welcome to Easton News. I'm Abby Kitchenham.
And I'm Jack Ryan, and together we bring you everything you need to know about Easton, including politics.
The annual town election is scheduled for Saturday, April 22nd, 2023.
Community events.
Be Inspired. Counseling presents a parent and child coping workshop centered around a new year and new beginnings.
And sports.
Pressure builds diamonds, so we live by that every day of practice, going into every game.
With APCSM guest segment Pet of the Week.
Hi, I'm Katie with the Animal Protection Center, and today we have a little Iris.
With help from special correspondent Wyatt Fain. Join us
for Easton News.
Playing 6 o'clock, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the official first episode of Eatin' with ECAT. My name is Joseph Taft.
I'm Jack Ryan.
And I'm Abby Kitchenham.
We are, in fact, your co-hosts, and we are determined to bring you all the big eats that you can handle. So listen, if you're a foodie, you're not going to want to miss any of the action. Check out our website, www.eastoncat.org, or find us on social at EastonCat to find this episode on demand.
Oh, you're going down, Kitchell. You're going down. You're going down.
I got through the foam, and I'm getting a little more down to the... It's like...
The fact that there's jelly in this just unsettles me.
A Reuben sandwich is the best sandwich out. The sauerkraut mixed with the Thousand Island and the rye bread.
This is something I have never seen before.
We're good. We're all family here.
Where does the ice cream begin?
Big
and
bite.
the whipped cream end?
No more plate.
Welcome back, and Howard's in the room. Howard, this is great. Thank you.
To be here.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Howard, I'm excited because Howard is one of the founders of ECAT.
I
Yes.
am.
And his last name is Miller. Let's not forget that.
Oh, please.
And you founded it with
Paul DiNicola, better known as
Dino.
That's right.
It's great. And I know you probably see Dino and Howard around town, and you never knew his place in our community, so now you do. And when you see him around town now, stop and shake his hand. And he's a really fun guy. So tell us, what was the reasoning for creating ECAT?
Very good question.
I thought so.
In 1999, Comcast was in town, had a studio down off of Washington Street, and they were serving 3 communities. I believe it was Stoughton, Norton, and Easton. I was trying to promote a basketball game that we were doing at the middle school. I was part of the PTO organization, and it was very difficult to get a promotional announcement on that channel. Very difficult. Which led me to believe that there was a better way. Comcast announced that they were not going to be running that studio anymore and that they would begin funding the local communities for local access television. That got me excited. So I went to the town. I joined the Cable Advisory Committee, which is the town committee that negotiates with Comcast and Verizon. Paul DiNicola was a member of that committee. He was very instrumental in negotiating with Comcast and Verizon for a percentage of the cable fees that people were paying in town. And when all was said and done, they offered a significant percentage and a significant amount of capital for us to get something started.
Nice.
We ultimately needed to find a place to be. We needed somebody to run it. We went to Doug King. Doug King was very cooperative and provided the space that we're still in today. A beautiful studio location, a great podcast studio and control room and offices and so forth. And he was very cooperative in terms of helping us with the rate. He also helped us build the studio.
Shout out to Doug.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we hired our first executive director, who you all may know as Jason Daniels.
Okay.
And he stayed with us for almost 10 years and moved on. And thankfully, Kim came aboard, who also had been with us previously for 8 years. And we had a good organization.
So this was a vision.
It was a vision, yeah, exactly. And thank you to Comcast and Verizon for making that vision become real.
Yeah. Vision, go ahead.
Yeah, vision, but on the other hand, you really helped them out too, because they were no longer interested in providing local news and community events.
Well, I can't speak for anybody else. I saw it as an opportunity to get 4 television channels. I mean, think about that.
Right.
You have control of 4 television channels and what you can do for the town with those 4 channels. And it was endless. The possibilities were endless. And, for somebody like me, and I suspect somebody like Dino, we were very excited to be able to begin something like that and offer something like that to the community.
Nice.
Yeah, it was.
I've been in town 58 of my 65 years.
You don't look that old.
I'm not. And the 7 years that my wife grew up in town too, and the 7 years we were outside of town, we felt that Easton was Easton. Then when we left Easton, 2 years out, we said, Easton. Easton is more than we thought Easton. So what you do in town and what we presented ECAT to the community, I think is essential.
I agree with you, and I think what we're trying to do, and I can speak for Kim, and I can speak for Adam and Joe, what we're trying to do is make it more essential. Thanks to Jack Ryan, who now is doing the news every week. It's a very good feature to the community, and it tells people what's going on. Obviously, we do the government meetings, we do the sports and everything like that. And I want to point out a couple of things there that people don't realize. There are times when we're doing 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 simultaneous broadcasts at the same time. One being recorded, obviously, because we only have 4 channels. But the effort from a personnel standpoint, and from an equipment standpoint is relatively significant.
Well, that goes back to a comment we made at the very beginning that ECAT oftentimes goes sight unseen.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be in the background. It's like a caterer.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be in the background. But today, ECAT is in the forefront because today's ECAT Day. Right? It's the first one.
Yeah.
And it's time for ECAT to be recognized for what they do, for how they serve the community, and the value. And the value's huge.
It is.
And I took it for granted for many years. And I sat back and watched graduations and tuned into the government planning board and stuff like that. And
sports.
Right?
Music.
And just took it for granted.
Yeah.
But then a few months ago, my son said to me, Dad, you should check out, I wanted to start giving back to the community.
Okay.
He says, you should check out ECAT. So I said, all right, I'll check out ECAT.
Well, it's a great organization, and I will give the board of directors a plug because we are volunteers. Nobody gets paid as a board of directors member, but it's a significant position from an idea standpoint, from a making sure we're in line with the government and financial and everything like that, and it goes unnoticed as well. But yes, there's a lot of effort behind the scenes to, we talk about the wonderfulness of 4 channels, but you got to program 4 channels, and that takes a lot of effort.
Yeah, and I think it's important that the town, the residents in the town, see the value. And I know I've only been working with ECAT for a few months now, but it's fun.
Yeah.
And but I didn't see the value until I started working, and now I see the value and how hard they work.
Yes.
And how important it is to have equipment that's up to date.
You talked about volunteers earlier, and I want to say a couple of things about that. I've been in broadcasting my whole life. That's why I love this, and it's part of what I do. But what shaped me in the early years was internships. Critical from a high school perspective, from a college perspective, to go in and intern, to find out if you like it. If you like it, find out what about it you like. Where do you want to focus? And it's a great opportunity for high school kids to come in here and say, well, is this for me? Do I want to do this the rest of my life? Maybe not. Maybe I want to be an accountant, or maybe I want to be a cameraman, or maybe I want to be an editor. But nonetheless, with all the equipment and all the people here that can train you to use that equipment, it's a great opportunity to form your career.
Yes, and we addressed that earlier, interns. But not only in the respect of broadcasting, there's also marketing internships. We need people that can do social marketing, that can promote. And can you imagine going to college and applying to a university or a college or university, and on your resume has a year or 2 of interning with a local access television program,
yes,
and then with certain names behind that program that they can mentor, have as mentors. That's huge.
You have the ability to come off of an internship and walk into a job on day one and know what you're doing, as opposed to saying, well, I don't really have any experience, I like this, but I don't know what to do. You can go in there, take the job, and do the job on day one because you've done it in your internship.
Yeah.
And you know, we talked about internship as a cameraman, but it could be somebody on air talent, it could be a producer, it could be a director, and the forgotten marketing sometimes could be very valuable as well. You know, people don't realize how important it is to get promotion of the programs out there, to promote ECAT, promote programs.
So where do you see ECAT going?
It's a good question. I think we've come a long way in the last 2 or 3 years. I want to thank Kim and Adam for the production that's taking place in the field. I don't know if people notice the quality of production that's taking place, and I'll use a soccer game as an example, where not only do you see the game from a wide perspective, you can see it from a tight perspective, a close perspective. And that's very valuable, where when you're wide and you're looking at the game, you can't really see people. But when you have a wide shot and then you can go to the tighter shot of somebody dribbling the ball, whatever the case may be, it means more. It's more professional, and the viewer has more to see. And they could see their son, they could see their grandson, they could see their friend, whoever it might be. And these games that are being recorded are also very valuable to the people who participate in the games. Later on, they go and look and see how they've done, what they can do better, and so forth.
Well, I'm fortunate. My children and my grandchildren are all in Easton. But I feel pain for grandparents, now that I'm a grandparent, for grandparents that are out of state that want to watch their grandchild at the kindergarten concert, at the kindergarten play, or at the sports event, and they can. You've given them the opportunity to see their grandchildren and their children from afar.
Yes. What I watched a little bit earlier, and I want to make a little bit clear that through the ECAT website, eastoncat.org, you can see all 4 channels live from anywhere, literally, in the world.
Wow.
And
so I could be in London.
Exactly. So there's a reach. That just started, within the last year. But it's important because it provides the grandparents, it provides the sisters that are out in California or somebody in London to be able to see Priscilla or whoever the case may be, from Netherlands,
Yeah, now that's something that I just recently learned, that you can go online, EastonCat, one word, .org, and see all the channels, all 4 channels streaming live. I mean, that is amazing. And tell us a little bit, Howard, how that came to be. What is the technological jump that has to happen? Is it equipment? Is it technique? What is it?
Well, first of all, it's the concept. The concept has to be developed. Last year, a year ago, we had 1 channel on the website.
Wow.
So, we thought about it and said, 1 channel is good, but what channel do you put on there?
4 is better.
4 is better, exactly. So, Kim looked into the fact and how we can put 4 channels on the website, because at that time we were also redesigning the website as well. It was some equipment purchase that needed to take place, and now we have 4 channels.
So,
excellent.
For those people who are watching today, here is a value that is unbelievable for those relatives, grandparents, aunts and uncles who live afar. All they have to do is go to eastoncat.org and see their grandson, niece or nephew, granddaughter playing soccer, being in a school play.
I'll also add that in addition to the 4 live channels, as we've had in the past, every program that ECAT has ever done is available. So if they miss Priscilla's show for whatever reason, they want to see it, it's there for them to see it.
And I tell people that. I say, at your convenience.
Yeah.
At your convenience. You don't have to tune in to Community Forum on Thursdays at 1:30? I don't know, 3:30, whatever it is.
Yeah.
No, you can just go, and also the archives that we have. So if my Growing Up in Easton show, for example, there are people on there who have passed, and you and your family or close friends, and you want to see that person, well, you just have to go into the archives and see. It's wonderful.
There's a certain feeling of guilt as a parent that can't go to their child's sporting event or their play because they work, because they have to be somewhere else that's maybe more of a priority. And we kind of satisfy a piece of that guilt. So when little Johnny or little Jane comes and says, Daddy, are you going to come to my soccer game this afternoon or my kindergarten play? You say, I can't be there, but I'm going to watch it tonight, and we can watch it together. And that's just, so you sit in the couch with your child or your grandchild, and you sit with your arm around each other with a bowl of popcorn, and you watch the event all over again. So it's taking the guilt away from, and I know, I felt it, every parent does, and it takes that guilt away, and it puts it in a different perspective, and it gives a creation of bonding. So not only did you create the opportunity for people to see things that are helping them with their family, but also it's bringing them together. So, but kudos to you.
Yes, and you know, that's why today we're asking for donations, because those people who have cable, that group of people is diminishing, and they're going to streaming instead. So we need your support, your financial support, if we're going to continue to thrive. And that's what we want here. We're open to people's suggestions for programs, people coming on board. But this latest value of being able to go on your computer anywhere in the world and see programs being live streamed is just phenomenal. But also to be able to go and see programs that have already been presented. It's just a click away. What a wonderful, wonderful value that is. So we're asking you today, please donate. Donate to ECAT. Send us a check made out to ECAT, Easton Community Access TV, and mail that to 50 Oliver Street, Northeastern, 02356, or use this, whatever that is. Mark, please inform me, technologically challenged, what that thing is at the bottom of the screen. What?
QR. It's called QR code.
And what does QR stand for?
Adam? I have no clue. I just put my phone to the QR code. The thing is, it's important that people understand that we can't do it without them. Easton has never been a community to sit back and wait. It's always been a thriving community. It's always excelled. It always looks for better. That's why our school system is one of the top ranked in the country, and that's what we stand for. So ECAT needs to represent that same level of standards. And we can only do it with the support of the community, because tax dollars don't pay for this.
And we also have sponsorships. So for businesses and organizations out there who want to sponsor sports events, concerts, even one of Mark's program, my programs, they can do that. Just to call the studio at 508-230-7200 and say, I want to help, I want to sponsor, what's available, what are the costs going to be, and we have costs ranging from $300 to $1,500. So there's a price point for everybody. And the other thing that can be done is a special that we're starting this week we're going to be blitzing Easton with a special new sponsorship and business opportunity. So Mark, tell us very quickly about that.
Today, no, for $1,000, we're offering a 30-second promotional video. We will go to your office, business, or you can do it right here, and we will conduct the video, edit it, and we'll present it for the next, and during 2024, over 500 times on the channels that ECAT represents.
Right, and that's just $2 a pop. I think we pay more for coffee than that.
Right.
And this video is something that you're going to have the opportunity to promote your business and to show Easton residents the value that you offer in your business or an organization who wants to get more members. So.
But not only that, Priscilla, they can also, it'll also be on YouTube, on the YouTube productions, but it'll also be given to you, and you can put it on your website, and you can use it for social media marketing.
And also, if you're on a program, let's not forget this, if you're on a program as a guest from Mark, from me, Harrison Young, Gail Jevons on Discover Easton, we always send those people a link to the program. So they can then take that link, put it on their Facebook page, put it on their website, or just distribute it to their friends and family. What a gift that is.
So the exciting part about ECAT, which I find really exciting, is I do a lot of visionary things. And this was a person's vision. And it's active, it's live. It's like the first time Hood started milk, they named it Hood. And that was a vision. Everything's a vision to start with. And you shared your vision. And a vision is in someone's heart, someone's head, and someone's passion. And that's what you've given a piece of your vision, piece of yourself to our community, Easton.
And for that, Howard Miller, we and all the residents of Easton, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
I had a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun doing it. I enjoy it, so it's not a chore to me. If I could just say one other technological thing. Not only do we broadcast meetings, but what we do is called hybrid, which allows people remotely through Zoom to attend meetings and people remotely through Zoom to participate in meetings. Now that's an interesting technological development over the last year or two related to COVID, but we've caught up to that. And within the next 6-8 months, this studio, as I think Kim mentioned earlier, will be capable of providing that hybrid service. We use that word hybrid very loosely, but I think it's important for people to understand what that really is. It's
state of the art.
It really is.
So if you're watching a select board meeting through Zoom, you can actually participate in that meeting when the chair asks for community input. Is that correct, Howard?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you. We're going to break now, and we'll come back.
Hey there, I'm Gail Devins, and join me as we discover all the businesses that made Easton great. This is a wonderful, wonderful place. I cannot wait. I want to do it. I want to go there. I am definitely coming back, and I know you will too, because I'm telling you something. It is absolutely amazing in here. What a wonderful way to discover Easton. It's right here in Easton. Showing at noon on Mondays, 2 p.m. on Tuesdays, and 11 a.m. on Fridays, only on ECAT.
Hello, welcome to Easton News. I'm Abby Kitchenham.
And I'm Jack Ryan, and together we bring you everything you need to know about Easton, including politics.
The annual town election is scheduled for Saturday, April 22nd, 2023.
Community events.
Be Inspired. Counseling presents a parent and child coping workshop centered around a new year and new beginnings.
and sports.
Pressure builds diamonds, so we live by that every day at practice, going into every game.
With APCSM guest segment Pet of the Week.
Hi, I'm Katie with the Animal Protection Center, and today we have a little Iris.
With help from special correspondent Wyatt Fain. Join us
for Easton News.
Playing 6 o'clock, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the official first episode of Eatin' with ECAT. My name is Joseph Taft.
I'm Jack Ryan.
And I'm Abby Kitchenham.
We are, in fact, your co-hosts, and we are determined to bring you all the big eats that you can handle. So listen, if you're a foodie, you're not going to want to miss any of the action. Check out our website, www.eastoncat.org, or find us on social, at EastonCat, to find this episode on demand.
Oh, you're going down, Kitchenham. You're going down. You're going down.
I got through the foam, and I'm getting a little more down to the... It's like...
The fact that there's jelly in this just unsettles me.
A Reuben sandwich is the best sandwich out. The sauerkraut mixed with the Thousand Island and the rye bread.
This is something I have never seen before.
We're good. We're all family here.
Where does the ice cream begin?
Big
and
bite.
The whipped cream. And
No more plate.
Don't have time to sit down and watch ECAT programs? Don't worry, ECAT has got you covered. That's right, ECAT has
Podcast!
ECAT Podcast Channel has your favorite shows that you could listen to. Whether you want to chill and listen to the Ron Van Dam Show and hear him talk about what's bothering him that day, or the show hosted by local legends Stephanie Weinstein and Meredith Keach, where they talk about anything and everything, or take a listen to the weekly news hosted by Jack Ryan and Abby Kitchenham. Stay tuned in with Tiger Talk hosted by Oliver Ames students. Community Forum is where their host Priscilla talks about all things Easton. Easton residents can also find government meetings about various topics. You can find the podcast on Podbean and all your favorite podcast platforms. Just by searching ECAT or the ECAT podcast, you can find it all. The ECAT podcast channel is powered by Podbean, so either in the car ride or walking around town, you can always catch what's going on with ECAT. Happy listening!
Welcome to Service Matters, a weekly radio show that talks about the good things that are happening in local communities and beyond.
Since 1978, the Easton Food Pantry has been dedicated to providing food to our neighbors in times of need. As long as there's hungry people in our community, our doors are open, our hearts will be open to help.
We also like to talk about the good things that people do to make a difference. And
We're all Eastonians. Ready? Hey, welcome back. We're here. So during the break, we found out what QR means. So, Priscilla, what's QR mean?
Quick response.
Quick response.
Yes.
And that was a quick response.
It was.
Good.
Right there.
Thank you.
Good demonstration.
Well. So we have Gail Devins with us from?
I am from Discover Easton, and it used to be called Consider It Local many years ago. So that's my show that I do every now and then. And if you have any questions?
Well, first of all, I think everybody should know, Gail, that you are a Freitas.
Yes.
And your
Freitas
mother...
of what?
Freitas.
Freitas?
And that your mother is a floral designer extraordinaire, Gloria Freitas. We all know her and love her. Yeah. And your brother Richard has a thriving real estate business on Main Street,
yes,
Northeastern.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you have a sister, Rosemary,
yes,
who is a well-known journalist, TV journalist, and lives in Washington, D.C. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Yep.
So we are all three of us townies. Just want to let everybody know that. Mm-hmm. And a townie is somebody who's born and raised in Easton, right?
Yes, I was born and raised in Easton. I graduated Oliver Ames High School in 1978. We just celebrated our 45th reunion, which is crazy because I'm 39. So I don't know how that happened. So yeah, I'm very proud of Easton, and we raised all 3 kids here, and the school system was fabulous. But there's just a lot to Easton than just the schooling and even the way back history. I mean, there's history throughout the town, and the way all the businesses, and there's been businesses here. For instance, my father's business has been here since 1949, real estate, in which my brother now, he's the commercial realtor for that. And so Easton is quite a community.
Yeah.
So it really is.
Yeah. And you have helped our viewers to discover Easton. And so for that, we are so thankful. And by the way, I just had my 63rd reunion.
Oh,
yes, from Oliver Ames High School. And
wow.
I know, and we couldn't have our 60th because of COVID.
Oh.
So, yeah. And when did you graduate?
I
graduated in 1960. And you?
Well, you were 15. We grew up in the same neighborhood. You were 15 years old when I was born.
Oh, okay.
So I graduated in 1976.
Oh, okay.
My gown was red. What color was your gown?
Red.
Red?
Mine was gold.
Ah.
But anyway, so the show that I host, it used to be called Consider It Local.
Ah.
And it all began when the Chamber of Commerce wanted to promote area businesses. And so we had a networking event here at the ECAT studios, and the director of the chamber said, what we're going to do is, if you would like, she says to the businesses that were at the group, you can do a 30-second spot, and however, we need a volunteer to interview. And all of a sudden my hand went up, and I'm like, what am I doing? So I started interviewing them one after another. And then they came up with, well, why don't we do a monthly show called Consider It Local. So once a month I would talk about a business. And then it became Discover Easton, because during COVID, when businesses had to shut down or slow down, and we all got together and we decided, let's promote Easton. Let's discover Easton during COVID, that we're still open, they're still thriving, come support us. So that it became Discover Easton. And it used to be that I would interview businesses that belong to the Chamber of Commerce. Now it's just any business in Easton, in this area, and it doesn't even have to be a business. So for instance, we'll do an event. We'll go to the Festival of Trees, which is very popular.
Yep.
And we'll go around and we'll show each tree and we'll talk about it and the history of it. And so it's a lot of fun. And I have to tell you, I have learned so much about not only the proprietors of the business, but how it's run and the background and the details. And so when you're driving down the road and you see Hilliard's Chocolates. Everybody knows Hilliard's Chocolates. Fantastic. You go in, you get a pound of chocolate, some fudge, whatever you want. However, when you look at the show and you understand how the chocolates are made and what the details are and how they're shipped out and how they were featured on Oprah and the whole background, it's exciting. It's really, and Easton is really a community. Easton is, I feel like it's a rarity nowadays, because nowadays people, they go to work, they stay in, they do their work at home, but when you plug into ECAT, whether it's online or whether it's on cable, you can actually understand what's going on in your town. And it's just a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun with it.
Can I just mention something? We were originally going to have this event outside, across from the Farmer's Daughter on the War Memorial. And because, is it raining out?
Yes.
Okay, because of the rain, we've been here since 9 in the morning. So because of the rain, we brought it inside. So when we called, we had the electricity turned on. Did we turn it off? I don't know. So anyway, the Farmer's Daughter offered to send food across the street for us.
No.
So I told him, I said, we're
I
going to
missed
be.
out on that.
I know, really.
Oh.
So I said to him, we're going to be across the street on Saturday. And I know a lot of your patrons hang out there, just so you know. And Ashley said, why don't we send some food over? I go, well, she goes, well, how many people are there going to be? I said, well, no. I said, we're not feeding the masses. If you want to send something over and we'll just play with it on TV. So my shout out is to the farmer's daughter and Ashley for offering that to us.
Yes.
And, and then I called her yesterday. I said, she goes, I was wondering what was going on. And but anyway, Farmer's Daughter is a great.
Oh yeah,
been there.
Yeah, Farmer's Daughter, and I mean, it's just when you meet these people, and one of the questions I ask is, what caused you to begin this business? How did you start? What was it? And when you learn where they started, where they are now, and where they want to continue to go, it's all very interesting, and it's just it's just wonderful, and but the things you learn is incredible.
So we just had Howard on, and we talked about vision.
Yeah.
So you must run into that all the time. So every business you walk into, it's someone's vision.
Right. Exactly.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it is. They have a vision, and it may be that they started out with a vision and it took a turn, but it was a good turn.
Yeah.
And they explain that, and I think it encourages other entrepreneurs to realize, yeah, you started out a certain way, but it's okay that your business is going this way now. It's okay to change it up and to see the success. But they also talk about maybe some difficulties they've had along the way, which helps.
Well, yeah.
So it not only encourages just someone who's watching the show, but if they were thinking about becoming an entrepreneur and how did they get started, is it possible? Yeah, so.
And also, you provide a wonderful service because you're promoting the business. You're giving some understanding as to the owners, how they started, what their vision was, what their mission was, and so obviously people are going to say, I think that's a place I want to visit. I want to support that. They came here, they had nothing, they started from ground zero. What a wonderful contribution that has become to the quality of life here in Easton.
Yeah.
So you're going to get people who are going to be very understanding about the facts that you bring out, and that they want to support that business. So that's a great.
But just to think they brought their vision to Easton.
Yeah.
That's where they brought their vision home.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because there are some businesses that I interview where the people grew up in Easton.
Yeah.
And then they ended up here, and it's just such a wonderful hometown story.
Yes.
Yeah.
And but I wanted to piggyback on what you said in regard to wanting to support the business. A lot of times the businesses will support various charities in Easton. So, for instance, School on Wheels. We did an interview here in the studio on School on Wheels. I'm telling you something, I was floored. We all know what School on Wheels is, but to sit down and have an in-depth talk about how they started, their passion for it. So much of this is passion. So then the viewer can say, you know what, I want to support that because they're supporting other people. And there's so many good things that go on, these businesses, and that you don't realize driving by and seeing their store and realizing that all of a sudden suddenly you realize that they're supporting schools, they're supporting people, homeless, all kinds of things.
Well, I think it's your position is if somebody's taking it for granted, don't. Because you're going to show them.
Exactly,
and
yes.
I just recently interviewed School on Wheels people, Cheryl Opfer, who was the original founder, and she came with, I'm having a senior moment.
Is it Neil?
But we talked about the November 9th Gala, which is the biggest fundraiser that they have annually. So if you're looking to support School on Wheels, go to their website and School on Wheels, Massachusetts, and take a look and see if you want to buy a ticket and be there.
Yeah, so that's another result of the show.
Yes,
is that it actually helps them to promote what their cause is and everything.
So there must be a whole other market.
I remembered.
Go ahead. What?
We had one of the most one of the most popular people in Easton And you know him from McGuire's, Neil Levine.
There you go.
And he is the champion warrior for School on Wheels. And so he was featured with Cheryl, and we had a wonderful talk. And he has been with School on Wheels since the beginning in 2004. So he's really a champion.
Yeah.
In many ways.
Yeah. So I hope I'll see some of you there.
I think everybody knows Neil.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone knows
Yeah.
Neil, yes. And his
I have never had a meal I don't like at McGuire's.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm
I-
waiting
Honey
to do a
Hots.
show there,
Well,
just so I can have
what
some
happened?
stuff. I'm like kidding. No, I mean, their food is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah,
Every time I try something different, it's just,
Well,
it's phenomenal.
It's the
I second
place in
that.
Easton to go, right?
Yeah.
It's the
Fantastic.
So you do all these nice things with people with storefronts. There have to be businesses that aren't storefronts in Easton.
Right.
Have you tapped into that?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Talk to me.
So I mean, just anywhere from, so there could be, for instance, I went to Top Pops.
Yep.
Pop Tops.
Pop
I'm
Tops.
sorry, Pop Tops. Anyway, so I went there, and that's not something you drive by. And,
Right.
oh, there's a store. But just to see their production was crazy. I mean, I thought it was just, oh, they do T-shirts. No, it's so much more than that. And just to see the machinery that they have, and everything like that, it's just, it's phenomenal. And you know, just to see the background of even. You know, the Shoveltown Brewery, I know that's a storefront, you know.
Yeah.
But just to go in there and see the incredible things that hold the beer and the process, and it's so clean and sanitized and huge, and it's
But that's
incredible.
a vision too.
That was a vision too.
Yes, that was a
It
big
was.
vision because that started in Frank Altieri and Jim McSherry's basement.
Yeah.
Right.
They were experimenting, making
Yep.
different beers,
Yeah.
and look what it's become
And,
today.
and they took that vision
Yep.
and they had to find some money
Yes.
to put behind it, and they had to have the guts to move forward with it.
Yeah.
And it's located on the other side of this building.
Yep.
So
They didn't bring
it's too early for a beer, isn't it?
Never too early for a beer.
Well, I'll tell you another one. Of course, the Old Colony YMCA.
Yep.
Old Colony.
Yep.
Y.
Yep.
Oh boy, you know.
Have a beer, go work out.
Yeah. But I mean, when I interviewed them a few years ago, it was just incredible to see what they do. And of course, we all know that they're involved in community. But just to know exactly what they do and to go behind the scenes and meet the people that run it, that the people that you don't recognize or know, and well, this person runs this, oh really, and tell me all about it, and the details that go in it, and it's just phenomenal, just what you learn. This is a real interesting time.
So where do you get the people to interview? Do you just go down the road and say, I haven't been there yet, I'm going to go talk to them?
Well, Adam is very good, right, Adam? You're very good at
All
searching
right.
them, hunting them down. When we first started with Consider It Local,
Yeah.
of course, the chamber would contact those businesses that belong to the chamber. So that was fairly cut and dry.
Yep.
Adam he'll suddenly see a business and go, oh, he'll go over there, knock on the door and talk to them and say, how would you like to have a show about your company, your business? And sure enough, he comes up with the day and the time that's good for them, confirms it with me, we get together, we do it. And it's always well worth it.
There's got to be
So,
some serious research that goes into.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
How many
yeah.
hours? How many hours do you put into a typical show before recording?
Well, I am someone that doesn't do well with memorization or figuring out exactly what I'm going to do. So it's pretty much, I study the website, I study all that so that I know exactly what I'm coming into. But as far as questions, it's a very natural thing.
It's
we
organic.
get together. It's organic. We talk to each other,
Yeah.
and it's a very it's
You have a
like
conversation.
we have a conversation, so
Right.
it's not a okay. So when did you start? Where you located? I mean, all those things are very important.
Yeah.
But we have such a nice conversation. The people tend to relax because they get a little nervous about, okay, well, what are they going to ask me? What's going to? But then we sit down, we talk, or we many times what we've discovered, Discover Easton. But many times what we've discovered in doing this is we used to sit have an interview, and then do a tour. Now what we do is we'll talk a little bit, then we just go into the tour and talk as we go along. So if someone's clicking through the channels, or if they happen to see it on YouTube, they see, oh, look at that, that's interesting because she's showing this, she's showing that, and you plug in. And so also for the person who I'm interviewing, it's because it's their passion, it's their business, it's more natural for them to walk around and say, oh, and over here I have this, and like, oh, well, tell me how that started, and oh, da-da-da-da. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and it's there's all different kinds of things from, we do outdoor things, we do indoors, we do, in here in the studio. So I'm a business owner myself, and I have a business called Shoe Geese Border Patrol. And my border collies chase Canada geese off property. So Kim was kind enough to interview me, and we were going to do it outside, but I think the weather was too windy, so the mic was hard to pick up. So I brought the dogs in here. That was very interesting.
It's always fun.
But it worked. It worked. Whatever worked.
Dogs are great.
They're great. They make you relax.
Cats are good too.
Yeah, cats are good too.
Snakes, I'm not sure.
So, are you open, Gail, to people out there who have businesses to call the studio? And today, I would love to be on Discover Easton.
Absolutely. Doesn't even matter what kind of business it is. Doesn't matter at all. Just give them a call, and we'll set it up.
And the phone number is 508-230-7200. And speak to Adam.
Yeah, it's
Adam's going to be really busy.
Adam Carrero. Yes.
Yeah, Eddie, sorry, Adam, but...
he works so hard now.
He does.
I walked in his office last week. I said, man, do you have any time off?
Yep. I'll tell you, all the staff here, though, at ECAT, they're phenomenal. They really are. And as far as editing goes, if you're having that interview and you say, oh, why did I say that? And you cut, and then they say, okay, fine, we'll cut, and then they cut, they splice, and then they don't do that anymore. It's a different way they do it. But it's
cut
just
and splice.
amazing. Yeah, cut and splice, what they used to do. But I'm looking for the day they can make me taller, but they haven't done that yet. So.
Yeah, that's great.
But it's a great show. I enjoy it, and it's just fun. Like you said, it's fun.
Yeah, it is.
And so it's a nice thing.
Yeah, and also, when you discover Easton, you're discovering your hometown.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit, how does that bring value to the show?
Oh, boy. I mean, it's one thing to live in your town and come home from work, make dinner, go to bed, go to work, come home. But when you get involved in the community, whether there's something going on at the Oaks Maze Memorial Hall or whether there's something else, you actually feel part of. There's something about community where it's almost like family.
Yeah. And
there's care, there's concern, there's camaraderie, there's fun, there's happy times. Sometimes there's sad times when you share things. But it's just that connection that we all, I think as human beings, we desire connection.
Sure.
We're social people, social animals. We just want to connect, and that's with Easton, and you see the pride of Easton, and it's just a great town, a great community, and I love it here. I think it's fantastic. It's very good. So I'm very happy about ECAT and what they do, and because there's so many ways. It used to be just cable. Now, like you said, you can access it anywhere.
Yeah, and I think that's such value.
Yes.
And what we're asking today is to contribute to continuing the value that ECAT brings to every home and household. So please donate, send your checks to 50 Oliver Street, Northeastern, 02356, or use that quick response code.
Q code.
Oh, very good.
That's good, that's good. And we need to reach out to everyone and thank everyone like Gail and Priscilla for putting their heart and soul and the effort and their time behind quality programs. And that's, I'll tell you, I've got 5 or 6 episodes under our belt. And the preparing for those and organizing the event, whether it's at a venue or it's at the studio, it's time consuming to get the content correct so that the viewers, because we have quality people in Easton, so you just don't give them, you need to give them quality information.
Right.
So that's huge. So kudos to everybody in Easton, but you're making us work hard. So, so which is fine, but that's what we like to do, and that's what we do. But we share our passion with the viewers, and we need you to share some donations with us.
Yeah. And I enjoy volunteering, doing this. It's a wonderful thing. I love it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you do such a great job,
Thank
and we all appreciate your spontaneity and the ability to converse with people. You make them feel very comfortable, relaxed, and so therefore the viewer gets a much more comprehensive view of the business and the people who run it.
Thank you.
So and then we see also what Easton's going to be like in the future, because everyone that you interview has a future vision as well as a present one. So
well put. Well said.
Great. Was there anything else you want to tell us?
Yeah.
No, just I love what we do, and the Discover Easton is a lot of fun. You do
Sounds
discover Easton. That's what it is. You're
Yes.
discovering your town,
Right.
and it's great.
And
It's
let's
wonderful.
remember that if you don't have cable, you can go, or if you do, you can go at your convenience anytime on eastoncat.org and see one of Gail Devon's Discover Easton programs, or check it out on YouTube.
Go
Right?
for it.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Gail, for
And
being
thank
here.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And to the viewers, thank you for joining us. I believe, are we concluding this?
No.
We're not. Oh, good.
No, I
Good.
have a guest.
So we're going to break.
We're going to break.
Oh,
Excellent.
there's more.
And we're
And
coming
Carol-
back with Priscilla.
Carol Doherty was going to be my guest. She is our legislator who is representing Easton, and she will be here shortly.
Awesome.
Great.
Good.
We'll see you shortly.
Hey there, I'm Gail Devons, and join me as we discover all the businesses that made Easton great. This is a wonderful, wonderful place. I cannot wait. I want to do it. I want to go there. I am definitely coming back, and I know you will too, because I'm telling you something. It is absolutely amazing in here. What a wonderful way to discover Easton. It's right here in Easton. Showing at noon on Mondays, 2 p.m. on Tuesdays, and 11 a.m. on Fridays, only on ECAT.
Hello, welcome to Easton News. I'm Abby Kitchenham.
And I'm Jack Ryan, and together we bring you everything you need to know about Easton, including politics.
The annual town election is scheduled for Saturday, April 22nd, 2023.
Community events.
Be Inspired. Counseling presents a parent and child coping workshop centered around a new year and new beginnings.
And sports.
Pressure builds diamonds, so we live by that every day of practice, going into every game.
With APCSM guest segment Pet of the Week.
Hi, I'm Katie with the Animal Protection Center, and today we have a little Iris.
With help from special correspondent Wyatt Fain. Join us
For Easton News.
Playing 6 o'clock Friday, Saturday, and Sundays.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the official first episode of Eatin' with ECAT. My name is Joseph Taft.
I'm Jack Ryan.
And I'm Abby Kitchenham.
We are, in fact, your co-hosts, and we are determined to bring you all the big eats that you can handle. So listen, if you're a foodie, you're not going to want to miss any of the action. Check out our website, www.eastoncat.org, or find us on social, at EastonCat, to find this episode on demand.
Oh, you're going down, Kitchenham. You're going down. You're going down.
I got through the foam, and I'm getting a little more down to the... It's like...
The fact that
Put
there's
that
jelly
one
in
back.
this just unsettles me.
A Reuben sandwich is the best sandwich out. The sauerkraut mixed with the Thousand Island and the rye bread.
This is something I have never seen before.
We're good. We're all family here.
Where does the ice cream begin?
Big
and
bite.
The
the whipped cream. And
No more plate.
don't have time to sit down and watch ECAT programs? Don't worry, ECAT has got you covered. That's right, ECAT has
Podcast!
ECAT Podcast Channel has your favorite shows that you could listen to. Whether you want to chill and listen to the Ron Van Dam Show and hear him talk about what's bothering him that day, or the show hosted by local legends Stephanie Weinstein and Meredith Keach, where they talk about anything and everything, or take a listen to the weekly news hosted by Jack Ryan and Abby Kitchenham. Stay tuned in with Tiger Talk hosted by Oliver Ames students. Community Forum is where their host Priscilla talks about all things Easton. Easton residents can also find government meetings about various topics. You can find the podcast on Podbean and all your favorite podcast platforms. Just by searching ECAT or the ECAT podcast, you can find it all. The ECAT podcast channel is powered by Podbean, so either in the car ride or walking around town, you can always catch what's going on with ECAT. Happy listening!
Welcome to Service Matters, a weekly radio show that talks about the good things that are happening in local communities and beyond.
Since 1978, the Easton Food Pantry has been dedicated to providing food to our neighbors in times of need. As long as there's hungry people in our community, our doors are open, our hearts will be open to help.
We also like to talk about the good things that people do to make a difference, and in many cases, to make dreams real for folks out there in need.
Just to chat about, as you say, some of the good things in life. There's some of the good things, the great things, and the happy things.
And certainly watch us on ECAT, Easton Community Access Television.
Welcome back. And today, for this part of the program, we have John
Holgersson.
And John is an incredible, I just met John, and he's an incredible guy. In 2 minutes, I found out that both Priscilla and John are attorneys. So I am major league outnumbered.
Retired.
Yeah.
Retired.
No, I'm still an active member of the bar, but not practicing.
I go to the bar. What bar do you go to?
That's the bar I go to most of the bar that you go to.
What's your favorite cocktail?
Actually, I'm a beer person.
Okay.
I'm not into cocktails.
I'm a martini Grey Goose. How about you?
Oh, I love lager beer.
Lager beer, great.
With a chunk of lemon in it.
Okay, we're a little off
Or
track.
a shot of Bullet Bourbon.
Bullet Bourbon?
Yes.
I have some Whistle Pig 12 if you want to try that. Anyway, so we're back, and John has an exciting background.
Yes,
I don't know if it's exciting.
I think so. How many attorneys do you know that are?
Mark, before we start on that, let's introduce why John is here. He and I are anchors, co-anchors on the show For the Love of Words. And John is a poet as well as a lawyer. And he invites a poet and he interviews the poet performs. And then the other half of the program, I have a musician whom I interview and who performs. So it's For the Love of Words. And my musician is also a songwriter, has to be, right? Lyrics. So with that, go ahead, Mark.
No, that's great. So you're a poet and you write music as well.
I put some of my lyrics to music on my guitar, but it doesn't go that far.
Guitar?
No. I do. I read my work my poetry in public, but
I would've brought my guitar.
I perform my songs in private.
Okay.
You wouldn't want to hear me sing.
Yeah, you wouldn't
Trust
hear me
me.
play. Anyway, so you've been a poet all your life, but an attorney.
Well,
part
I
of your
started
life.
writing when I was 13.
Okay.
And I was writing television screenplays on my front porch. When I was 13, the shows on television were The Fugitive, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., the originals
I
of
remember
those
those.
series. And I would sit on my front porch in this black and white speckled notebook, and I would write screenplays for the next episode of each of those shows. And when I was 17, I moved on from that to writing poetry. And I've been writing poetry since I was 17.
So what's your favorite poem that you wrote?
There really isn't a favorite poem. I have a lot of poems that I like. I have a lot of poets that I like. I like Pablo Neruda, Leonard Cohen, who's also a songwriter, as you know, I'm sure. There are a lot. If you want to go back in time, Emily Dickinson, certainly, that would be one of my favorites. So it's hard to select any one poem from any of those particular poets because they're all very, very good.
Well, it's interesting that you're an attorney and a poet. You were a poet first, obviously, because you were 13 years old, and you're an attorney. And I happen to work with attorneys, and they have a master of language. So in order to write a song or a poem, you take an expression and you put it in words that are kind of like
Poetic.
Poetic. Good word. So how do you come about? So the things that you're writing about are in your head, and you see a vision and you write about it. So how does that work?
Well, let me give you an example of how sometimes most of my work actually happens. I was sitting in the bar of a Mexican restaurant a while ago, and I was there with some friends. We were celebrating this young lady's birthday. So she happened to mention that she'd been given a gift certificate to get a tattoo. Mm-hmm. So I asked her, what kind of a tattoo are you going to get? Because she had no tattoos. This would be her first. And she said to me, well, I'll show you. And she reached into her purse, took out a pen, took a napkin on the table, and she started to draw this design of what the tattoo would look like. And as she was doing it, I knew that there was a poem to be written because I knew a little bit about her background, and I could see the design that she was drawing. And I thought to myself, yeah, this is a poem coming. This is how it starts. And 3 months later, I had the poem finished, just based on having seen her draw that design.
Can you tell us the poem?
The poem.
Or a piece of it?
Well, the poem is called Unnecessary Tattoo. I think, let me try to remember how it starts. A bruised heart, cleaved in two, stitched down the middle. No mystery or enigma here. No obscure or secret riddle. It's there, behind your eyes. It's the catch in your voice at the mention of star-crossed lovers or the vagaries of choice. It can be seen in the ashes of the cigarettes you snuff out, in your lingering, I'm sorry, I've lost my train of thought with that line, with that verse.
That's
But
okay.
that's the first half of it.
You can almost visualize the tattoo.
Well, that's the idea. I mean, most of the poetry I write is imagery.
Yeah.
But
I could see it when you were saying it.
And that's the thank you. I take that as a great compliment because that's the whole purpose of the poem. Any poem is to be able to convey to the person with the words that are being used the image that they're trying to convey.
But also you see an image, but you hear a story.
Yeah. Poems are stories. And all writers are storytellers. It doesn't matter what genre you're writing, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, memoir, it's a story. Nice. And you're telling a story. And while I was a practicing attorney, especially in trial, that's what I learned most is that when you're addressing the jury, you're telling them a story, and it's a story based on the facts that are in evidence, and you're asking them to come to a conclusion at the end of the story that acquits your client. And being a storyteller is a plus if you're a trial attorney, because it allows you the ability to get that across to the jury in words that they understand. And that's usually the key, in my experience, that's usually the key to being a successful trial attorney, is being a very good storyteller.
And that brought you to poetry.
Well,
poetry brought you to the law.
Well, poetry brought me to the law in a sense, yeah. What brought me to the law more than anything was I was in university at the time the Chicago 8 trial was going on in Chicago, and I followed that. I was 100 miles away from where I was in school. So I followed that quite closely, and I became enamored of being a trial attorney. I was in school in a program that was a 6-year law program, 3 years undergraduate and 3 years of law school. But I hadn't really decided what area of the law I would be going into. But when I was following the trial of the Chicago 8, that convinced me that was the area, criminal law, that was the area I wanted to go into.
So passing the bar exam for both of you, that was a difficult task.
That's an understatement.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's trial by fire.
Yeah. So have you
Baptism
written
by
a
fire.
poem about that?
No.
That's traumatic.
No, actually I've written very few poems, if any, about my legal experience.
That was a different side of your mind.
It was a different part of my life, to be honest. So I've sort of kept those two things separate.
Nice.
Although the novel, I am working on a novel, and the novel does involve a public defender. So
okay,
I put it in, but poetry and fiction are cousins,
Right.
but they're not the same.
No.
So how many novels have you written?
Oh, I haven't written any except the one I'm working on right
And
now.
how far along are you with it?
About the half, 3/4 of the way through.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Well, you have to send it to my son.
Yeah.
Film
When I
producer.
finish it, yeah.
When you finish it.
Where do you find your inspiration in this novel?
Well, from my experience,
Okay.
obviously. You know, the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Is that true?
Yeah. No, I'm counting on the fact that everybody I know from the system will say to me, am I in the book? And I will tell them, yeah, you're in it, along with everybody else. Most of the characters in the book are amalgamations of people that I know.
Yeah. So interestingly, we've had several guests today, and the word vision has come up a lot. And I think ECAT has a lot of visionary people, and it's creative. And you're a very creative person. And you're much of a visionary. So
I've been called a lot of things, but not a visionary. Not until now.
That's great.
Yeah,
you have to be, right?
Well, you have to be. You have to have imagination, and you have to be able to mold that imagination in order to create some form of art, no matter what it is. Could be pottery, but without imagination and that creativity, the desire to create something, you probably can't or won't end up with any kind of an achievement.
John, can you give us a little bit of the history of For the Love of Words?
Sure. I can tell you the history I know.
Okay.
My first contact with For the Love of Words came with Rich Berg, who is a poet who lives here in Easton. And it was in, I was going to say, probably 2012 or 2013. He was running a venue that he called For the Love of Words in Easton at various locations. I know we had some sessions at the Queesit House. I know we had a lot of sessions at the Blackthorn Tavern that used to be on 138. And then finally, Rich had, through his connections and contacts, someone here at ECAT who was interested in making the venue that was a sort of a traveling venue for the Love of Words into a show. And that's how Rich started as the sole host of For the Love of Words. And he asked me to feature a couple of times, and I featured in 2015, I remember that. And in 2016 or 17, he asked me to co-host. George Cuomo was also a co-host with Rich Berg when the show came to ECAT, when I should say the venue came to ECAT. And then slowly but surely, George left, and Richburg developed some health issues that forced him to leave, and he asked me if I would take over the show at that time as the sole host, which I was willing to do. And then, of course, a couple of years later, we had the pandemic, and everything went to sleep for 2020, 2021, and I got an email from Kim Pincus sometime end of 2021, maybe, 2022 sometime, in which she said she wanted to start up the program again.
Nice.
I think it was the end of 2022, actually, at least the email that I received. So we started again in January.
Without reservation.
Of this year.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate that teamed up with Priscilla, who of course is well known in the Easton community and on ECAT television.
Yeah, I first started watching ECAT and I watched her shows and I go, oh my God.
Yeah.
She's hard to compare
Right.
to.
So, I mean, I think the two of us work well. And I think the fact that we've divided the labor
great job.
between music and poetry, I think it's done very well.
Yeah.
And I've been very pleased with the episodes that have aired, for the most part anyway. So, I look forward. I just met Kim out in the hallway before I came in here. And I told her, I said, how much I enjoyed doing the show. And I look forward to, a continuing working relationship with Priscilla into the future.
What could you tell us? What would you like to tell high school teenagers that are writing, that are looking at going into college, that may have a passion for poetry? What would you like to tell them?
I would tell high school student poets to look for a venue outside of your school library where your club or poetry association meets. Look for a venue where you can go and read your work. Once you find the venue, the next thing is not to be afraid to sign up on the open mic list and step up to the lectern and read your work. Because the audience, it's been my experience at every venue that I've been at, and I've been to quite a few, it's been my experience that the audience is a welcoming audience, no matter who reads. So there's nothing to be afraid of. There's no one that's going to heckle you or down you. They're all going to be very supportive. And I think the key to writing, if you're writing poetry or if you're writing anything, it's usually to express your thoughts and your ideas about a particular subject. And you want to be sure to communicate those thoughts and ideas to others. And the best way to do that is to find an outlet, such as an open mic venue, where you can read your work. There are open mics for fiction, there are open mics for poetry, there are open mics for music, and a lot of the open mics that have musical performers also provide time for someone who wants to read their poetry. So my advice to high school students who are writing poetry is to not stop and just find a wider audience for your work beyond the circle with whom you meet, so that you can get a better appreciation of the good response that will occur when you do read your work in front of strangers, because that's the key. And it's hard. Don't let anyone tell you that public speaking is not difficult, but it's an obstacle that you can overcome. I've had the privilege of producing and moderating a high school student poetry reading in 2017 with the Taunton high school students. I live in Taunton, so I had 17 high school student poets come to the Old Colony History Museum on Church Green in Taunton and read their work in front of an audience of 50 or 60 people.
Nice.
So I do know that it works. I do know that there was a great deal of appreciation for the work of those student poets that read. And I think it's something that I'm trying to do now also in Taunton in conjunction with the District for Performing Arts, the old district court, where on Court Street, where I used to try a lot of cases, and now I hope to be able to bring a lot of high school student poets to that same venue. Obviously, it's been completely redone. to that same venue so that they can read there. Sort of a life circle type of thing for me anyway.
I think what's also important for high school student, or even younger, I mean, first graders can write poems too, is that it's part of them that's coming out. It's their words, it's their thought, it's their idea.
And John, can you tell us, I know that there's one in Mansfield?
Yes, there's a venue in Mansfield called Pour Me a Poem. It meets the second Thursday night of every month. It's online. They have a Facebook page. You can Google Pour Me a Poem and you can find all the information there. Pour Me a Poem, Mansfield, Massachusetts.
Pour like pour a glass of
P-O-U-R.
P-O-U-R.
And now, Pour Me a Poem, I met both founders. There's Sarah Letourneau and Wayne Daniel Berard. They're the founders of that venue. And the reason why it's called Pour Me a Poem is it started out at a Dunkin' Donuts in Mansfield.
Oh.
And the only problem was the first night the venue operated, more than a year ago now, in September of 2022 was their first meeting. They couldn't shut the music off at Dunkin' Donuts. If you've ever been into Dunkin' Donuts, you know there's music playing in the background as you stand there waiting to place your order. Well, Wayne Daniel Berard thought that they could shut the music off, but no, it runs 24/7, even when the store's closed. So Wayne Daniel and Sarah decided they had to find a different venue. So, but like I said, all of the information for Pour Me a Poem is you can find it, Google it. There's also a venue that's in Plymouth, it's the one that I've been going to for almost 16 years now. It's called Poetry, the Art of Words. It will start up its venue at its original venue. It's moved on from where it usually was when it first started. It's returning to the Art Gallery on North Street in Plymouth, and it's the second Sunday of November. It meets the second Sunday of every month, unless the second Sunday is a holiday, Mother's Day, Father's Day, something like that. Then it meets either the preceding Sunday or the Sunday after.
And the name is?
Poetry, the Art of Words.
Okay.
And the moderator for that is Miriam O'Neill. And quite frankly, that's the source where I mine most of the poets that appear on the show. They have such a history, that venue has such a history of wonderful poets who feature there. 2 poets feature every month, and then they have an open mic. And there are many, many poets who have appeared at that open mic who have been on for the love of words. I've invited them to come because I've heard their work, and they're all very, very good.
And one of the things that Richard Berg left for John and me is a list of poets and musicians,
Yes.
which he compiled over the years. And so I get a lot of my musicians from that list, but also Ben Bradford, who is one of our videographers and editors here at ECAT. He has an incredible connection with so many local musicians, and he's been very helpful. And so it has to be a musician who's also a songwriter, because our show is for the love of words, and very often the words dictate the music, and vice versa. And we talk about that on the show.
I think not only do you do a great show, but ECAT in your show offers opportunity for younger people.
Correct.
To reach out and to maybe meet you and talk about how you've succeeded, how you'll write. Everyone's has a different style of writing.
True, and the other wonderful result of the program from a musician's point of view is that they are suddenly known and they get gigs, and I get some feedback about
network.
that. And they network, yes.
Yeah.
So that is one of the benefits of the musicians who appear. And I've even had a fiddler. So they're not all guitar players.
Well, fiddle that.
Yeah. And this past week we had Electric Standard, John Walsh's?
Yeah.
Mark Walsh.
Mike.
Mark.
Mark, sorry.
Mark, that's all right.
Mark
Mark
Walsh.
Walsh. Hello.
Yes, and his band, and they were just fabulous. And they're all, interestingly enough, English teachers. One's an English professor. Two are English professors at Massasoit, and the other is a high school English teacher, I think from Taunton.
So without your show and without ECAT, we potentially would not be able to provide younger people in high school and grade school an opportunity to see someone create poetry or create lyrics to a song. So this, and here's another value that ECAT has. It has the value of reaching out into the community and saying, if you like to try this, come in, we'll embrace you, and we'll let you explore, and we can help you walk through and organically mature in your field, if whatever you want to try to do.
And the other interesting point, the connection between the poetry and the music that I really enjoy is how they came about writing what they wrote, whether it's a poem or the lyrics to a song.
It's a passion.
Yeah, but sometimes it starts by an experience, as John just described earlier, that, you know, he's the tattoo, the napkin, the person, the background. And sometimes it's just a simple slice of life that creates the words to the music or to the poem.
Do you trash a lot of them?
I have folders that I label poems in progress.
That's positive.
And rather than just crumple them up and throw them in the wastebasket, I put them in this file folder. And occasionally I call them, although the label on the file says poems in progress, I actually refer to them as my abandoned children. And occasionally I'll go back and try to rescue one of my abandoned children. And
there's a poem right there.
And and see if he or she can go out into the world.
Do you wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning with something in your head and you have to write it down?
I've had that experience, much to my wife's alarm, but most of the time I don't experience that. You know, where I wake up, turn the light on, and start writing.
Pad of paper next to the bed.
Yo, I have a small, very small notebook that I usually carry with me when I go anywhere, with a small pencil in it.
Thoughts just come to you.
Yeah, well, sometimes they do. Sometimes they do.
Now, at the beginning of the show, we joked about Holgersson,
my name,
which is his father's name, and who was Swedish background. But we really need to mention mother, because she was Irish, and we all know that there is nobody better than an Irish storyteller. So you genetically have inherited a gift that has enabled you, to
very well be.
Yeah, to express
my
yourself.
mother's maiden name was Hogan, and I know from my conversations with her in the past that her ancestors, all of her ancestors, came from County Cavan in Ireland, which is just south of where the borderline where Northern Ireland is located. So I do know that. I've never been there. I hope someday I can get there, but we'll see.
Well, thank you today.
Oh, you're welcome.
It was great meeting you.
Thank you. It was nice meeting you.
But not only that, it's great to, every time we do something, something else comes out of it. So to the viewers, and if you have a son or daughter, or if you're an adult that wants to write poetry or music, I know I wrote something a few years ago, and it was fun to write. It was interesting how to create the language in it. If you ever want to try that, we have resources that can.
Well, I would just add, for the benefit of the high school students who are writing poetry, I would say that if you go out, like I suggest, and go to the venues, I go to a lot of venues. I may very well see you reading your work, and before you know it, you may very well be appearing on For the Love of Words.
And you don't know where that's going to take you.
No, you don't.
You know, in Easton, we have a lot of talented residents, and we don't know what they do for work. They could be a talent scout. We don't know where it's going to go. So, the first step to doing something is stepping out and doing it.
That's right.
You can't keep it to yourself. Someone said to me one day, if you die with an idea, the idea goes with you. So it's never shared. So you have to share what you've got. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you again.
You're welcome.
And again, I think this just shows that ECAT has a lot of resourceful value to the community, and we'll leave it at that. Thank you, and we'll be right back.
Hey there, I'm Gail Devins, and join me as we discover all the businesses that made Easton great. This is a wonderful, wonderful place. I cannot wait. I want to do it. I want to go there. I am definitely coming back, and I know you will too, because I'm telling you something. It is absolutely amazing in here. What a wonderful way to discover Easton. It's right here in Easton. Showing at noon on Mondays, 2 p.m. on Tuesdays, and 11 a.m. on Fridays, only on ECAT.
Hello, welcome to Easton News. I'm Abby Kitchenham.
And I'm Jack Ryan, and together we bring you everything you need to know about Easton, including politics.
The annual town election is scheduled for Saturday, April 22nd, 2023.
Community events.
Be Inspired, Counseling Presents, a parent and child coping workshop centered around a new year and new beginnings.
And sports.
Pressure builds diamonds, so we live by that every day of practice, going into every game.
With APCSM guest segment Pet of the Week.
Hi, I'm Katie with the Animal Protection Center, and today we have a little Iris.
With help from special correspondent Wyatt Fain. Join us
for Easton News.
Playing 6 o'clock, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the official first episode of Eatin' with ECAT. My name is Joseph Taft.
I'm Jack Ryan.
And I'm Abby Kitchenham.
We are, in fact, your co-hosts, and we are determined to bring you all the big eats that you can handle. So listen, if you're a foodie, you're not going to want to miss any of the action. Check out our website, www.eastoncat.org, or find us on social, at EastonCat, to find this episode on demand.
Oh, you're going down, Kitchenham. You're going down. You're going down.
I got through the foam, and I'm getting a little more down to the... It's like...
The fact that there's jelly in this just unsettles me.
A Reuben sandwich is the best sandwich out. The sauerkraut mixed with the Thousand Island and the rye bread.
This is something I have never seen before.
We're good. We're all family here.
Where does the ice cream begin?
Big
and
bite.
The whipped cream end.
No more plate.
Don't have time to sit down and watch ECAT programs? Don't worry, ECAT has got you covered. That's right, ECAT has
Podcast!
ECAT Podcast Channel has your favorite shows that you could listen to. Whether you want to chill and listen to the Ron Van Dam Show and hear him talk about what's bothering him that day, or the show hosted by local legends Stephanie Weinstein and Meredith Keach, where they talk about anything and everything, or take a listen to the weekly news hosted by Jack Ryan and Abby Kitchenham. Stay tuned in with Tiger Talk hosted by Oliver Ames students. Community Forum is where their host Priscilla talks about all things Easton. Easton residents can also find government meetings about various topics. You can find the podcast on Podbean and all your favorite podcast platforms. Just by searching ECAT or the ECAT podcast, you can find it all. The ECAT podcast channel is powered by Podbean, so either in the car ride or walking around town, you can always catch what's going on with ECAT. Happy listening!
You can just call me the rep.
Okay, so this is getting serious. We're towards the end. We have half an hour left, and we got the rep in the room. State Representative Carol Doherty.
Excellent, Mark.
Thank you. How was that for an
Yes.
introduction?
Beautiful and enthusiastic.
I love
think
it.
it's really wonderful.
And we have Priscilla Onquist Olson.
Yes.
That's going to be interviewing State Representative Carol Doherty.
With my co-anchor, Mark Cardoza.
And your show is called?
Community Forum.
Community what?
Forum. Yes.
With enthusiasm.
Let's take it away.
I also want to mention at the beginning that I also have a wonderful show called Growing Up in Easton.
What is the name?
Growing Up in Easton.
Growing Up in Easton.
And I have to interview Mark Cardoza because he grew up on my street.
I'm a growth.
Seaver Street in Northeastern. So you're on the docket next.
Put it on the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
Okay.
And all the shows can be seen on ECAT. They're all archived. You can just go on, click on Community Forum, Growing Up in Easton, For the Love of Words. And now I'm also working with Bill Ames on Film Connection. So, and then finally, Snippets from Sweden. Snippets from Sweden. So when I go visit my family there, I take this little Japanese video camera and take photos, comment, and so forth. And you can see snippets from Sweden for those who are interested. Anyway, but today we are featuring Representative Carol Doherty, whom I have interviewed several times and whom I have a great admiration for. And that was a bad sentence, for whom I have great admiration.
In either case, it works.
I like it.
The great admiration.
Did you notice?
Part.
I
Yes.
didn't notice.
So, Carol, Mark has a few questions. He wants to hear about
I have questions?
Yes, about your background and so forth. And then I'll...
I like to get to know people. Talk to me.
All right. I will talk with you.
There you
So,
go. Open-ended question.
First and most importantly, not part of my background, but I represent the 3rd Bristol District. So it is 2/3 of Taunton, the city of Taunton, and a third, grown from one precinct to 2.5.
Is it Taunton or Taunton?
Not having been born or raised in the community in which I live, but in Westport and Fall River, I say Taunton. If you are born and raised in, you say Taunton.
Yep.
Which doesn't roll off my tongue at any rate very easily. So
No.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. At any rate, I was born in Fall River to Portuguese and Cape Verdean parents. My mother came from Madeira when she was very little, and her family settled in California and Fall River. And my father's father came from the Cape Verde, Cabo Verde, as we say, islands. And so that gives me a very Portuguese background with a maiden name of Chantre. And just recently, well, now about a year ago, my goodness, I visited the Cape Verde Islands. And with the Bridgewater State University, they have an institute on Cape Verde studies. So President Clark, who's an Estonian, brought a group of people from Brockton and a bunch of legislators to Cape Verde. And one of the things that became known is that I had heritage there. And I always thought that my family began and ended. Once everyone passed, there would be no more Chantres. Not so. The Cape Verde Islands are full of what I would like to consider my relatives. So I met 6 or 7 people with the same surname, and I consider that I have cousins there. And there's a talk show host in Brockton with the same last name, Chantre. Yes, I have yet to meet him, so I'm looking forward to doing that. So that's a bit of my ethnicity, my own personal background in terms of how I evolved to the state representative seat goes way back to my work as an educator, a 3rd grade teacher, first in New Bedford and then Taunton. I evolved to become an elementary school guidance counselor, and during that period of time, I took a great interest in the teachers union and made a commitment to myself as an activist and an advocate to become more involved in the teachers union over the years, and so I did do that, eventually running for the presidency of the Massachusetts Teachers Association, and I served there 4 years. There were only 2 two-year terms available, and still, so I served all 4 years, and then went on to, I guess after the union, I did some political consulting with the firm in Cranston, Rhode Island, left that, and interestingly enough, went back to my job as a guidance counselor in Taunton. The superintendent recently passed, God rest his soul, said, come back, and so I did. In the meantime, I had an acquaintance, Jim Fraser, who was the Dean of Education at Lesley University. He invited me to come and take a job there. He moved from there to Northeastern University, and he invited me again to come and take a job there. And at the time, the issue of teacher professional development was very much in the forefront. And within the School of Education at Northeastern, he wanted to create a Department of Professional Development. And so he asked me if I would be interested in interviewing. I was, and I stayed in that position as Director of Professional Development for 18 years. It was a lot of fun. It was really much like we do in the legislature. You take hold of an idea that would be of benefit to people, in this instance from Northeastern, teachers and children, and create programs that would be supportive of something that a school district wanted to accomplish. On my first day at the job, I had a desk and a telephone, and back in the day, it was a compendium of superintendents, alphabetically arranged. And I said to myself, how do I begin? I had no program, limited resources, and how would I create programs? So I opened the book, started with the A's, and called the first superintendent who was on the list, and continued to do that. And the response of that first superintendent was, would send me your literature. And I said, it's much better to meet with you in person to talk about what your needs are for the district. And I did do that, and 18 years later, continued to do that kind of work, and it really is starting again with an idea, making it into something that's reasonable and actionable and useful. And those programs were transferable to other districts as well. So it wasn't just a program, but
So you started with an idea.
An idea.
Is that a vision?
Vision.
Again.
Where have you heard that?
You've
all
heard
day.
that.
Today? Did we hear that today?
Yeah, all day.
All day.
This
is a vision. You're sitting in a vision.
Looking forward.
You're sitting in someone's vision right now. Sorry, I had to interrupt.
Yours? Is this your vision, Priscilla?
I'm sorry?
He said we're sitting.
Oh yeah,
We're
we are.
sitting in someone's
in a
vision.
So
We
it
all-
is your vision.
Her vision is within someone else's vision. Does that make sense?
That's true. But I also feel that my vision is to bring as many interesting people and ideas to the Easton community through my show, Community Forum.
And we're sitting in Howard's vision because
Yes.
this is ECAT. So I'm sorry to digress.
No,
But Carol, you're
But
this is visionary.
it's a wonderful thing.
Yes, it is. And so your point, of course, is ECAT has vision, and our guests have vision.
But your state representative
has vision.
Has vision.
Right.
So people don't see that, do they?
Well, I think that
I hope they do.
If one is not intimate with what the work of the legislature is, the expectation of ordinary people is to fulfill some kind of need by creating legislation or appropriating funds to help to support something that they need personally or something that the community that they live in might need. So it could be anything that stretches from housing to healthcare to education to jobs to economic development. As you well know, the legislature deals with a huge, huge agenda that is designed to support the wants and needs of people in the community. We don't always agree. People don't always agree with what the legislature does.
You're kidding.
I know it's hard to imagine.
I'm astounded. Really? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Nonetheless, that's the end of that statement. We don't always have to agree, but I think that from my perspective anyway, and it is focusing on working families, children and families, to make sure in the one vote out of 160 votes that I get, but collectively we are obviously a very powerful force to make positive changes in our communities. So that's my perspective, and that's my goal. So any legislation that I would file, anything that I advocate for, conversations that I have in Easton and Taunton with leaders and just community people are about, and I always say when I meet someone anew, here's my card, let me know if I can be of help to you in some way.
That is true.
One of the greatest pleasures of the work, and there are many, is constituent support, constituent services. Somebody calls and asks for help. I am anxious to be able to talk with that person and to try to reach out in our communities to find a resource or an answer to the question that they have. Right now, one of the most critical issues in the Commonwealth is housing.
Yeah.
We need to house homeless people, and they are a growing number of people. We are greatly in lack of affordable housing. I think we're short 200,000 units of housing across the Commonwealth.
Just the state.
Yes, yes. And then, of course, we have a huge influx of migrant people coming from Haiti and Brazil and other places. And we have a law, which I'm sure you've read about, created during the Dukakis administration, that says that we are a right to shelter state, meaning at the time, because there were few migrants or immigrants that were coming into the Commonwealth at the time, but that no matter who it was, the Commonwealth would have an obligation to find housing for that person, to find that kind of support. And if you have been following the news of late, it is growing more and more difficult for the Commonwealth to be able to find affordable housing generally for people who are in need of it. The governor yesterday announced a $4.1 billion bond bill, where and I happen to sit on the Bonding and Capital Expenditures Committee, so I'm going to have the pleasure of listening to the governor talk about what that all is about, and to vote to recommend that favorably so that the legislature can vote on it. But it is the primary focus of the bill is housing.
The hard part about that bond is that he's presenting it, but we need it now.
Well, we certainly hope that she's presented it. It's for some reason, some pieces of legislation take a very long journey before they really get to our table.
Or get to the table, but also get to the consumer, the person that's using it. It's years. And I know, just what's going on, we need it now, not 2 years from now.
So
what's the solution?
So what is the solution? Because you're absolutely right. So the money is appropriated, it's there. A developer comes into a community and collaborates with a community, in this instance Easton, for the purchase and development of a property to create that housing solution here. And then they go through all of that process, the purchase of the land, the development of the plans, the approval of the plans by the government, local government body, and then putting all of those pieces together, construction. In Taunton, we renovated a few years ago a school. It was 7 years from conception to throwing the doors open. And 7 years.
Yeah, and the need is yesterday. And that's difficult. That's difficult.
Absolutely.
So, Carol, tell us what the most rewarding example of your legislative vision has been for you personally.
How rewarding has it been for me?
No, what's the most rewarding example of something that has been successful?
Well, for me, I had, in my first full session, I had the opportunity to propose 7 pieces of legislation. And one of those pieces of legislation at the time, and it was right in the middle of the pandemic, was to escalate the ability of people who were studying for and applying for certification or licensure for certified nursing assistants. And of course, during the pandemic, there was such a paucity, if you will, of healthcare workers. That bill, much to my pleasure, was passed into law and is in implementation at this moment, so that people who are interested in taking those positions will be on a track for certification, so in a way that doesn't that keeps them working, earning money. You know, most of the time, many times when people go to school, sometimes if they're full-time students, they have to leave their work in order to complete their studies. And the bill says that you don't have to leave your work in order to get that license, and you will be continued to be compensated if you are in a position that is providing health care in some way. So that was a great, it was a success in my first year. The other way in which an almost immediate satisfaction comes is providing earmarks. So we have an opportunity during the budget time to work with our local elected officials. My approach is to say, what is it, or organizations, nonprofits largely, what is it that you might need in order to, something that you really need to do where you don't have any resources to do it. An example I think of is the safety and security study, I believe, that was done of the Easton Public Schools. And one of the priorities is to improve the locks on the doors in some of the schools here. And so I was able to secure $50,000 for the Easton Public Schools, so it could be applied against the total cost of creating that situation. Another one that comes to mind is our Raising Multicultural Kids program here in Easton. They are a nonprofit organization, always looking for resources to do that important work, and I was able to secure $25,000 for Raising Multicultural Kids. And I worked alongside Rep. Cassidy, who represents the rest of Easton, to secure $100,000 for our fire department here in Easton in order to, I think it was to purchase essential equipment in order to make it easier and more efficient for them to rescue people who are needing rescues, particularly in automobile accidents. And so it's a pretty significant win, I guess.
Yes, absolutely.
Because we are all subject to the pleasure of the leadership of the legislature, and not everything that is proposed gets funded because, of course, there are many of us and limited resources to help legislators support local projects. And so that's a great satisfaction for me to be able to come back, for example, to Raising Multicultural Kids and say, I got $25,000 for the work that you're doing. It really is a great pleasure to do that. So.
That's great. Yeah. So there are 2 state representatives in Easton.
Yes.
Where's the line?
Well, I represent 4A, which is, I think, the first time that a precinct has been split in Easton. So 4A, a 5, and 6.
So geographically,
so it's in the south end of Easton,
Yes.
is it? Because they have to be contiguous communities. So if you look at the map, the Easton comes up like this, and it's where Easton touches Taunton, and then it goes off like that. So yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, what are your plans for the future?
My plans for the future is to continue this wonderful work. To continue to represent Easton and Taunton in the 3rd Bristol, and to step up my game, if you will, to be more aggressive in filing legislation and supporting legislation that is most helpful to people. And as I think about schools, so my background is almost totally in education. That has been my career trajectory, whether it was professional development at Northeastern University or teaching and guidance in my work as an educator at the school district level, president of the teachers union. It's always been focused on education in some way. I serve on the Children and Families and Persons with Disabilities Committee. I wanted to serve on the Education Committee, but actually it was Rep. Cronin, now Ambassador Cronin, who suggested to me when I first entered the legislature, she said, why don't you think about doing something that is out of your comfort zone? Because that way you can learn more about more things. And she's absolutely right. I serve now for the second session, Children and Families, which focuses my energies on children and families much as I would on the Education Committee. So that works very well for me. But I had, in terms of education, filed several pieces of legislation that would affect schools. One is to require that students in high school at any grade level, 9 through 12, be able to take a course in CPR. And this is something, as I understand, that has been filed for many sessions over the years and has never really quite gotten over the line for some reason. And so my perspective is that coaches, so sometimes it's school districts don't want a mandate. They don't want to add something else that they have to pay for. But coaches are required to have CPR certification.
Right.
So my thought is that the coaches, because it's not like hours and hours and hours and hours of training, it's a limited number of hours of training to get that certificate. So coaches could very well introduce it into their physical education curriculum. And the Department of Education recently adopted a revised version of their physical education and health curriculum. And when that was coming along for public input, I sent a letter to the committee that was working on the revision and asked that CPR training be included in the revised curriculum, and I'll be darned, but it was. So our responsibility with this legislation as a legislature is to make sure that it gets enacted into law, because curriculum and implementation of curriculum in the way in which it's done is subject to the will of a local school body.
Yes.
So it could be recommended that they offer CPR, but not required. Districts don't, as I say, don't like to be required because there's so many other things, so you just add layers upon layers.
But we've seen the danger in that in recent months, where school districts have rejected sex education, school districts have rejected books in their libraries.
Ban books, yeah.
Yeah, banning books. So it can be very problematic.
Yeah, it could indeed, and there is book banning legislation for and against that has been filed to prevent book banning. Having been on the school board in the city of Taunton for 10 years, we would have the occasional family come forward and say, I don't want this book in the library, or I don't want my child reading this book. And parents have the right, even in this curriculum, even with the sex education curriculum, to opt out.
So let me ask you a question. It all boils down to money. And every time I watch, not every time, but a lot of times, we're always looking at where can we get more money for the education side. So where can we get more money? Are there any grants, funding that we're missing to put more money into the school system? We have a great school system, but it always needs more money.
Yeah. Always need more money. There's always a program or a perspective or a vision that a school district would have that requires money, and you can't do it unless you have the resources to do it. So schools are funded by Chapter 70 monies, and they are, here in Easton, largely funded by the taxpayers' dollars. And so it becomes more and more difficult to enact those or implement those programs that you really want to have because of the limited ability to raise taxes, because Easton is largely funded by tax dollars for everything that's done here in the community. And so I believe that the town of Easton does have, I don't know what that looks like at the moment, but I think that it's worth looking at the grants that are applied for and awarded to the town of Easton School Department in order to get the work done that they want to.
My philosophy with the school system, and I don't want to get into it here, but is not to cut back on programs, but to find money to fund the programs. I've always led with that, But we could. That's a topic for
Well,
another
and
time.
that's a very positive way to look at that. And lastly and quickly, the Student Opportunity Act was enacted by the legislature 3 or 4 years ago. It is now being fully funded. However, it focuses primarily on gateway cities, places where children have suffered from lack of resources at the school department level. And it doesn't give, and it's based on how many special ed children you have, how many English as a second language children you have, and other kinds of needs like that. And Easton, in some of those instances, falls below that benchmark that would give more resources. There are some of us who represent districts like Easton who have now begun to raise to the level of attention and awareness the need for us to provide a Student Opportunity Act that's going to affect all of our school districts in positive ways. So that's, and it was a long battle for that Student Opportunity Act to be implemented, and we now want to expand it to include our community.
Okay, so before we finalize, I want you to tell our audience how they can contact you. What's your contact information?
Well, I have an email address. You can contact me through my email address to the State House. It's Carol, C-A-R-O-L, .Doherty at M-A-H-O-U-S-E, Massachusetts House, but mahouse.gov. And if you send me an email, and I do get a lot of messages from people in Easton about various concerns, so you can send me an email. When you send it, please send your address and your telephone number so that we can reach out to you immediately. And the other way, of course, is my phone, and I don't mind giving out my phone number, my landline, 508-822-5837. And so I'd be happy to talk to anyone and meet me on the street.
Okay. And do you have a website?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a website?
I have a website which is usually just updated during campaign season.
I see.
So I have a Facebook page, Carol Doherty, State Representative. You can go on my Facebook page and take a look at what's on there as well.
Great.
Thanks for asking.
Oh, well, thank you for being our guest.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was nice, Mark. My
Same
pleasure.
here.
Yes, Priscilla.
Thank you.
Indeed.
So this was our ECAT day.
I
First
noticed,
one,
yeah.
right? And we're asking for, first time we've ever had to ask for donations because we're just trying to keep up with times. And we're trying to, Comcast and Verizon, people are streaming, so they're not using Comcast and Verizon, so we're cutting down on the PEG fees that we're getting. And so we're just trying to bring it all together and let the community know that to continue doing what we're doing, we need help, and we hope that people donate. But thanks for being here today.
Yes, and look at the QR, quick response on the screen to
yes.
donate.
Yes.
Or send your checks to 50 Oliver Street, Northeastern,
What's a check?
02256. And that's it. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, and see you next year.
Yep.